The legend of the Crimson Demon Clan begins with Suqing. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction. So please don't attempt real magic, the results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 51: Yunyun's Advanced Magic. Please support me. Although these words were a little infuriating, they were just as powerful as, I am a humble girl, please guide me. Even Zun Zun felt flustered. But then, realizing it was Megumi who had said them, his heart faltered. Looking at Megumi, who was completely astonished, Zun Zun raised his head slightly and said, "Hey, isn't this Miss Megumi, the one who graduated before me, the highest ranking, the foremost explosive magician of the Crimson Demon Clan, and the one aiming to become the new Demon King? How could you leave with only a day's difference?" Her body trembled with every sentence. Megumi must be feeling mortified right now. Crimson Demons graduate from magic, which can be considered adulthood, giving them the freedom to be independent. After all, school teaches a lot, such as how to hunt monsters and level up, how to create magic tools and potions to make money, or even how to inherit the family business and become the son of a shoemaker, the daughter of a fortune teller, or even a housewife. But Megumi had none of it. With only one chance with explosive magic, she only had one. Hunting monsters in the dangerous Crimson Demon Village was a pipe dream. Her control over magic was poor, so whether it was creating clothes or potions, she could only make bombs. With her family so poor, Megumin couldn't even afford to stay home. "Please, I can do anything. Please give me something to eat. My sister Mimi is starving, don't be ridiculous." "Not even Mimi will starve to death," Zun Zun rolled his eyes. Unlike Megumin, Mimi was beloved by the Crimson Demons. They regularly pay tribute to her, so she wouldn't starve to death. Never mind, wait a moment. He went back inside and took out a large amount of food. "Here, thank you." Megumin's eyes lit up with joy. Her parents hadn't come home in 3 months, and Yunyun's bento, the meal she and her sister relied on, hadn't arrived since she graduated from school. So she hadn't eaten since last night. Zun Zun said, "At least learn some elemental magic for the transition." "I don't want to, His fists clenched. Megumin's stubbornness popped out his veins. She had once suggested something like, "Now that my long-cherished wish to learn burst magic has been granted, I should learn elemental and intermediate magic to increase my stamina." However, Megumin rejected the idea outright, saying something like, "You'd rather die than let me learn any other magic." This led Yunyun to complain that burst magic was to blame for Megumin's fate. Megumin happily carried a basket full of food. Zun Zun said, "By the way, Sister Tala wanted you to visit her fortune-telling room." "Huh?" Megumin paused, but immediately understood. "Hey, you're not." "No. Sister Tala is a fortune-teller. Do you think I wouldn't know?" "Oh, yeah." Megumin nodded. Zun Zun's family is a family of fortune-tellers, and their skills are well known. You see, when Zun Zun was 8 years old, Piao Saburo performed a fortune-telling for him, predicting that in the future, a merchant from Axel would come to buy his strange magic gadgets. This prediction had recently come true. "Don't worry, Sister Tala was just trying to divine your future. I don't mean to blame or accuse you, really. It puts my mind at ease." He patted his motionless chest. After leaving Megumin at the divination house, Zun Zun began wandering around the village in search of his childhood sweetheart. He searched everywhere until he found the wishing well, where he saw her practicing treading water. She must have discovered the benefits of her powerful magical control. Before long, she sat down in the pond, her hand on her chin, sighing deeply. He walked over and greeted her. "Yunyun, Zun Zun." She turned around, stunned to see someone. Zun Zun asked, "What are you doing here?" "I'm training. Using treading water to control magic is certainly a good method. You see, I'm only a half-baked intermediate magician. If I don't put in the effort, I won't be able to catch you." Yunyun forced a heartbreaking smile onto her face. Half-baked magician, this was the derogatory term the villagers used for those who had only learned intermediate magic. Since all Crimson Demons were great mages by birth, learning advanced magic was easy and simple. They also believed that only by mastering advanced magic could one become independent, so they looked down on intermediate magic. Although urgency compelled her to learn intermediate magic, and although her teachers, companions, and the tribe elders understood her, Yunyun, feeling like the daughter of the long-awaited Crimson Demon Chief, could not accept this outcome. I can't be the Crimson Demon Chief like this, she sighed again. Zun Zun, facing his childhood sweetheart's self-pity, took her arm. Zun Zun, don't say anything, just follow me. He carried her back to his house, to his room, pushed her onto the bed, and then walked in. Yunyun clutched her chest with her hands, looking at him in bewilderment, stammering, Zun Zun, what do you want to do? I already told you, don't ask anything, leave it all to me, ha ha ha. Tears welled up in Yunyun's eyes at Zun Zun's serious gaze. Closing her eyes, her body softened. She whispered, it's my first time, so, please be gentle, don't worry, it'll soon be over. Zun Zun's words were untrustworthy. Closing her eyes, Yunyun thought, I'm sorry, father. I'm not even an adult yet, and I'm about to embark on the path of maturity. Then, a spherical object pressed against her mouth. She instinctively opened her mouth. Cough cough, water ran down her throat, and she choked. Yunyun opened her eyes and looked at the small bottle in Zun Zun's hand. She was stunned for a moment before exclaiming, This is a skill point potion, and it wasn't just this one, there were at least 20 more bottles of potion beside her bed. Why do you have so many? It doesn't matter, Zun Zun smiled mischievously. Don't even think about running away. Drink all of these, huh? No, so many. No. I can't drink any more. I really can't drink any more. After drinking 15 bottles and noticing her eyes getting misty, Zun Zun finally stopped forcing her to drink skill point potions. And why did she have so many skill point potions? Have you ever experienced this in your gaming life? You're reluctant to use any items, relying only on your stats and positioning to defeat bosses. Even after beating the game, your backpack is still full of items, and you feel proud at the sight of the dazzling collection. Yes, Zun Zun has a habit of hoarding items. Incidentally, that's how I got the skill point potion I threw to Megumin. Since Yunyun refused to cooperate, it was already noon. She left the room. Yunyun stroked her slightly swollen belly with a look of happiness. She was originally 4 skill points short of learning advanced magic, but after using 10 skill points to learn intermediate magic, she was still 14 short. But these skill points were made up for by Zun Zun. Although Yunyun had learned advanced magic, she was still weaker than Megumin. The power of explosive magic is no joke, but even so, Yunyun was satisfied. Thank you, Zun Zun. Yunyun's smile was incredibly bright. Boom. There was a noise like a heavy object falling. The two turned around and saw Megumin staring blankly at them, who were as close as lovers, and murmuring, It was me first. Obviously it was me first, Megumin. Yunyun was a little nervous. Although she didn't know why, she was extremely nervous now, and subconsciously hid behind Zun Zun. However, the little girl lunged at Yunyun, shaking him by the shoulders and shouting, Lunch, it's obviously my lunch. Spit out my lunch, stop shaking, I'm going to throw up. I'm really going to throw up, Yunyun cried with a sad face. Chapter 52, Megumin's part-time job. The peak of the demons, proud of the world, with me, Zun Zun, there's heaven. Those who recite my true name will see eternal life in the cycle of reincarnation. There's only one reason you'll fail, you've upset me. At school, Zun Zun was in pay class, and naturally, the lesson was focused on striking winning poses. The Crimson Demon Clan's educational philosophy emphasized showing off before and after battle, rather than defeating multiple enemies. Of course, Zun Zun had no qualms. After all, a good performance would earn him a skill point potion. But, no, while the dialogue and pacing were great, something didn't add up. It wasn't that it was bad, but rather over the top, not as natural as before. So, I can only give you an 80 this time, the teacher's comments discouraged Zun Zun. If it were Megumin and Yunyun, they would have thought the teacher was attacking him, but it wasn't just him, the students saw the problem as well. As Zun Zun rested under a large tree, Yu Guwei approached and asked, Zun Zun, are you feeling unwell? No, he shook his head. Are you tired? Yes, it's probably because of the tutoring. Lately, the teacher has been making you late to school every day. You must have a lot of workload. The teacher, sensing his desire to graduate soon, wanted to instill more knowledge in him by keeping him at school every day for tutoring. But this wasn't a great burden for Zun Zun, a divine being. I think Zun Zun is worried, Ruanhulu said, shaking her two pigtails with a knowing look. Dongdonga too, with his hand on his cheek, said with a smile, after all, the three of you are inseparable every day, and Zun Zun is the top student in school. He would certainly be upset if his two beautiful wives surpassed him. Wait, what did you say? Nothing. But Zun Zun, your eyes are red. You should know what red eyes mean to a crimson demon. His meaningful smile was infuriating. Yugu crossed his arms and mused, it feels cruel, but it's thanks to those two graduating that we're in the top 3. Yes, Ruanhulu nodded. The 3 leaders of the Crimson Demon clan this year were originally Zun Zun, Yunyun, and Megumin, the true fudge team. But when they graduated, they became Zun Zun, Yelgawei, and Ruanhuhu, the true Ruanhuhu team. By the way, Zun Zun, what's wrong? Megumin and Yunyun are graduating this weekend, right? We'd like to give both of them presents. Do you have any objections? Why are you asking me? Aren't you both wives? Hey, Zun Zun shouted, then thought for a moment. For Yunyun, any gift is fine. She cares more about gifts from her friends than the value of the gifts. As for Megumin, normally, she'd be better off with food, but it's a graduation present after all, so we have to give her something meaningful. Yes, I see, Yelgawei nodded. They must have already decided on what gifts to give, so shouldn't I prepare some as well? Then Dongdonga suddenly asked, by the way, what's Megumin doing now? Working. Zun Zun's reply left the 3 of them stunned. Despite Megumin's blatant plea for support and his consent, Megumin longed to find the magician who had taught her explosive magic and prove to him who is the best explosive magician in the world. However, considering the dangers surrounding Crimson Demon Village and the fact that she only knew one explosive magic spell that would cause it to collapse with a single use, it was impossible for her to leave the village on foot. In this situation, her only hope of leaving the village was to work part-time to save up 300,000 eris and use teleportation magic to leave. Her money was beyond her reach. She had some spending money, but 300,000 eris was too much for her. Perhaps Megumin knew this, which was why she refused to borrow. No, she simply didn't like borrowing money. Although she was the scum who used all sorts of tricks to trick Yunyun and steal her lunchbox, she surprisingly had a clear conscience. Upon hearing about the part-time job, she smiled gently. I didn't expect Megumin to actually work. How funny. Well, let's go see her after school today. The truth was, they were pretty bad. During that time, Megumin also looked for many jobs, but whether it was at a tailor shop that would explode if she injected magic power into clothes, at a pharmacy that needed bear gall to kill a bear but couldn't hunt, or because she had no talent for making magic tools, in short, she suffered greatly. As a last resort, she had to work as a waitress at the Crimson Demon clan's only restaurant. After school, the 4 of them arrived at the restaurant. Welcome, Megumin greeted with a smile, but froze when she saw the faces of her classmates. Ruanhuhu and Dongdonga looked at Megumin dressed as a waitress with an apron and laughed. It was unknown what they found so funny. But it must be said. Megumin in a maid outfit is really cute. Megumin narrowed her eyes and smirked. Excuse me. Do you want to order? PFFT, a soft laugh escaped to her. You look so cute in that outfit, waitress. Hey. Megumin, everyone calls you a genius, the one who barely gets a chance in class. You actually smile with your apron on. How funny, and you even smiled and welcomed us in. Ha, you could tell you used to refuse to go to gym class, always pretending to be an arrogant genius. I hope you guys smile again, and see. Dongdonga teased Megumin non-stop. A vein throbbed on Megumin's forehead, but she forced a smile, suppressing her anger. However, the paleness of her hand, tightly gripping the plate, betrayed her inner turmoil. This was a job she had finally gotten with Yunyun's help, so Megumin had to be very patient. If it had been at school, they would have been in trouble. She spoke word for word, you two, please order, any recommendations? She took the menu pretentiously, as if she was really about to eat. Megumin quickly introduced, today's recommended dishes are the stir-fried vegetables with seasonal vegetables and the juicy duck with spring onion. Oh, then I'll order the river fish set meal. I'll have the rice with pork chops. These 2 guys. Megumin almost pounced on them, but held back. Only after Zun Zun and Yugu mentioned today's recommended dishes did her expression soften a little. This is a pay later, eat later kind of restaurant. Please pay. Megumin extended her hand to them. Ruan Hu and Dong Donggu exchanged a glance, then said with a wicked smile, "You've always been swindling Yunyun and us back in school. Now that you're in the real world, it's your turn to treat others to a meal without suffering retribution, right? Okay, owner, please deduct the cost of our meal from Megumin's pay for her part-time job. Please." Dong Donggu raised his hand and shouted at the kitchen staff. Megumin's sanity was completely shattered. Blacker than black, darker than darkness. "Here they entrust my red and gold light," she chanted without hesitation. The immense magical force destroyed the entire shop, and even the sketch of Megumin's maid outfit that Zun Zun was working on was shattered into pieces, causing her immense pain. Of course, Megumin's part-time job was completely ruined. Chapter 53 Atomic. Over the weekend, the professor held Megumin and Yunyun's graduation ceremony. Zun Zun, having nothing to do, requested to be the sole witness and presented them with graduation gifts. Megumin received a red star hairpin, which made her look even more lively and adorable. Yunyun received black framed glasses with red bases, which made her look even more like a good student. These were common gifts. As for Yugu Wei, Ruan Hu, and Dong Donggu, they seemed to be planning on receiving high-level magical items, so they didn't attend. At the graduation ceremony, the professor talked a lot, saying things like the second and third place finishers were excellent and that they were the best class he'd ever taught. Suddenly, I realized that the professor seemed quite nice. After all, in his previous life and the one before that, his teachers always told him it was the worst class they'd ever taught. In this regard, Professor Crimson Demon was more encouraging. And most importantly, he promised them many good things for the future. However, I'm talking. I farmed before I learned magic, and I'm still farming after I learned it. Did I learn magic at all? Megumin complained to Zun Zun in the forbidden area. She leaned forward, her eyes filled with resentment as she spoke. "I've tried so many jobs, but I've never lasted long. In the end, to avoid being called a newt by my little sister, I had to go into farming. Tell me, why is this happening?" "Don't blame me," Zun Zun said, pushing Megumin's cheek away. "It's your weak control of magic that turned your clothes into bombs. It's your explosion spell, too powerful to hunt or one-hit bear. It's your impulsiveness that got you into a fight with your classmates and got you fired from the restaurant." "Oh." Megumin scratched her head, her eyes wide. "Why? I'm a genius, one of the top explosion mages in Crimson Demon Village. There must be countless adventurer teams out there who need a magus as powerful as me. Why did it have to be like this?" She still couldn't accept being dismissed one after another. Zun Zun understood her feelings. In his previous life, he had been a talented mid-level talent, but the company had fired him and forced him to live on rent. He understood the frustration. Suddenly, Megumin turned around and said, "Zun Zun, I need to ask you for a favor." Her bright, watery red eyes held a pleading look, making it difficult for him to refuse. Zun Zun asked instinctively, "What is it? Would you like to go on a date with me?" "I refuse." Before she could finish her sentence, Zun Zun flatly refused. "Why? Don't be ridiculous. There have been rumors of an explosion demon in the village lately. It must be you, the one who casts explosive magic in the forbidden area every night, keeping everyone awake. How could I possibly accompany you in your evil deeds? No. Yunyun doesn't want to accompany me anymore. There's only you now, Zun Zun. Please." She hugged Zun Zun's thighs, refusing to let go despite his efforts, unaware of the strength in his arms. "Are you sticky candy?" Megumin begged. "Please, Zun Zun, aren't we friends? Then we part ways." Zun Zun's words were cold. Megumin must have thought that Zun Zun, like Yunyun, would soften her up with the word friend. However, Zun Zun didn't care. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime request. Then your life is too cheap." Instead of knocking Megumin down, Zun Zun took the opportunity to climb on top, straddling him like a koala. How annoying. He had been holding back for fear of hurting her. Just as Zun Zun was about to knock her down with brute force, Megumin suddenly said, "Don't you want to see explosive magic again? Zun Zun, you have a lot of skill points, right? After all, you learned advanced magic when you entered the school. How about you join me on my adventure to explore explosive magic? Come on, let's learn explosive magic together." No way. She looked like a missionary from the explosion cult, desperately trying to get Zun Zun to learn explosive magic. Wait, learn explosive magic? Zun Zun suddenly remembered something. At 8 years old, he had mistakenly believed that magic consisted of spells and mana. However, when he started to formally study magic, he realized that in addition to those two things, he also needed to understand the flow of mana. On the other hand, if he understood the flow of mana, could he learn explosion magic? Now that was worth studying. Zun Zun said, "Okay, then come out with me. Just once, just this once, please." "What?" I said. "Yes, really? Great." Megumin's face filled with joy, and seeing her like this, Zun Zun could only say that he was getting happy too soon. It was late at night. To avoid being discovered, and because explosion magic made too much noise, they had to sneak into the forbidden area late at night, cast their spells, and immediately flee. And now, Zun Zun was placing his hands on Megumin's chest and back. Megumin stared at him blankly and asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm sensing it." "Sensing what?" Her eyes lit up and reddened with excitement. Zun Zun paid her no attention, but urged her instead, "Hurry. You're going to cast explosion, right? I'll carry you back, so hurry and let me feel it." "And what do you feel?" A blush crept onto Megumin's cheeks, but since it was late in the day and Zun Zun was engrossed in her tablet, she didn't notice. She hesitated, and for some reason, she suddenly tried to puff out her chest, as if to prove a point, only for Zun Zun to push her even harder. "Don't turn it up." A squeak echoed in the quiet forbidden zone, and then Megumin seemed to give up again. No, she channeled all her anger into explosion and began to chant. Since she had just learned explosion, the chant lasted 3 long minutes, and Zun Zun continued trying to feel the flow of magic. And then, explosion, boom. A sudden explosion erupted from the distant mountainside, a deafening boom that shook the entire village. Megumin collapsed into Zun Zun's arms, exhausted. Zun Zun waved his hands, as if lost in thought. After a moment, he smiled and said to Megumin, "Megumin, how nice, what's so nice about it?" He clutched his chest, curling up. Then, in the distance, there was a chorus of curses. The villagers must have discovered explosion magic and were running toward them. Zun Zun didn't hesitate, he hugged Megumin tenderly and started running. Thanks to his familiarity with the forbidden area and his speed, he managed to escape. After sending Megumin home, Zun Zun said, "I'll accompany you tomorrow, so let me experience it again." Megumin lowered her head, expressionless. She must have been delighted to be able to use magic without restriction, with her childhood friend by her side. After greeting those present, Zun Zun turned and left. As they left, Mimi ran over to greet Megumin, who was lying at the entrance, staring blankly, deep in thought. "Sister, your face is very red. Are you sick?" No, but your face is very hot." Every night after that, Zun Zun would take Megumin to the forbidden area in the back mountains to cast explosive magic. Even Yunyun couldn't stand the sight of them and went to give them a lesson. However, when Zun Zun expressed a desire to learn explosive magic, she let them go, albeit somewhat skeptically, and wanted to join in. A month later, the 3 of them met again late at night in the forbidden area behind the mountains, but this time, it was Zun Zun who cast the explosive magic. Explosive magic. This is the ultimate destructive magic, the essence of which is the diffusion and explosion of pure magical power. To spread it, one must first concentrate. Zun Zun struggled to control his magical power. His face reddened, and arcs of electricity flickered around him. As he had no skills to learn and relied on himself for everything, controlling the flow of his magical power was always a struggle. Luckily, his control was exceptionally strong. As his magical power continued to accumulate, his eyes reddened even further, a sign of growing concentration. Electricity coursed through his body, and as the magical power continued to condense, reaching a critical point. Atomic, boom. An enormous amount of magical power, centered on him, spread outward, accompanied by a raging storm of immense magical power. The overwhelming force and unbridled violence, unstoppable by anyone, destroyed everything around him, from the trees to the earth to the air, as if Zun Zun had repelled everything. A towering pillar of magical power grew from small to large, culminating in a cylinder approximately 50 meters wide and reaching an unknown height, rising from the forbidden zone of Crimson Devil Village. Global Nuclear War. Chapter 54 Skill Point Potion Recipe. "That's not explosive magic," declared Megumin. After unleashing his magic, Zun Zun lay limp on the ground, while Yunyun looked at him with concern. Only Megumin's expression faltered at the sight of the magic. "I absolutely refuse to admit that it was explosive magic," Her tone was serious. It wasn't because Zun Zun hadn't invested 50 skill points into explosive magic, but because he firmly believed it wasn't. Zun Zun nodded. What he had cast wasn't explosive magic, it was simply the consolidation of his magical power before expanding. Normal explosive magic should explode again during expansion, the resulting detonation creating a massive force that deals secondary damage to the enemy. That is the true nature of explosive magic. Furthermore, normal explosive magic allows for precise strikes. Zun Zun already had difficulty controlling his own magical power. He lacked the ability to strike accurately and could only extend it outwards, which meant he couldn't control magic. The fact that he could produce such immense power was solely due to Zun Zun's inherently powerful magic. Still, he was happy. The only problem was that he felt a little weak due to the loss of his own magic power. As Zun Zun and the other two prepared to retreat, a rustling sound was heard in the thick forest behind them. Soon, a figure appeared. "What are you doing here, Green Broccoli?" The one who had arrived was none other than Green Broccoli, who had joined the supposedly so-called anti-demon army guerrilla unit, but in reality the NEET mutual aid unit. He said that, as the village was frequently attacked by the explosive demons, the NEETs, no, the guerrillas, were required to patrol at night, earning a paltry wage. Green Broccoli had rushed over because he had seen the pillar of light rising into the sky. Megumin had explained that a demon army officer had attacked and injured Zun Zun, even going so far as to say that she was a large, thin woman with horns, which reassured Green Broccoli. In fact, in his opinion, although Megumin and Yunyun had mastered advanced magic, they couldn't inflict such a powerful effect, and Zun Zun was a student who didn't even know magic. Green Coconut Tree offered to carry the severely injured Zun Zun home. None of the three refused. Zun Zun preferred being carried home by Green Coconut Tree rather than being dragged by Megumin and Yunyun. Later, upon hearing of the destruction of the forbidden area, the villagers were enraged. The explosive demon had previously used magic outside the village, in the rear mountains, the Crimson Devil village. Now, he had dared to use magic within the village itself. Who knew if he would use magic in the center of the village next time? Feeling intimidated and forced to defend themselves, the village adults began patrolling the forbidden area and its surroundings 24 hours a day. Megumin couldn't even use her explosive magic. Every day, she glared at Zun Zun with the resentful gaze of an unspoiled newlywed. But there was no time for her. Zun Zun was still a student, and his days at school were incredibly busy. Today was magic tool class. The teacher asked the students to create custom magic tools, such as eye patches, fingerless gloves, and bandages. But Zun Zun and the others ignored her and were instead crafting wands. This was a gift Ruan Hu Hu and Dong Dong Gu wanted to give Megumin. They had gathered the materials, but because of their limited skills, they figured they'd ask Zun Zun for help. Zun Zun didn't refuse. He was concentrating intently, meticulously carving a magic circle on his wand. At his current level, he could only carve 3 circles per item. Considering Megumin's preference for explosive magic, he decided to boost the power of all 3. With Zun Zun's final strike, the magic circle circulated, emitting a faint glow. The 3 of them cheered uncontrollably. Success! Oh, X2. Magic circles are incredibly difficult to create, even the slightest mistake could ruin the item, let alone carving 3. For a magic item master, controlling magical power, concentration, and precision are extremely demanding. Of course, this wasn't a problem for the Crimson Demons. Someone was praising him, as expected. Zun Zun, your control is much stronger than before. I can already foresee the rise of a Crimson Demon magic item master, indeed. Zun Zun, you have incredible talent. You got a perfect grade in this class. Come see me after class for a skill point potion. The teacher never just gave verbal praise, he did what Zun Zun loved most, spending money. After class, Zun Zun went to see the teacher. Not only did he receive a skill point potion, but also a recipe. The teacher said in a pleased tone, I know you want to graduate quickly, but I can't stand seeing you turn into those 2 mediocre Crimson Demons who only excel in grades and nothing else, so I'm making you stay a little longer to study. I thought it would be stressful, but I didn't expect you to progress so quickly, teacher, as expected. One of the best teachers in the Crimson Demon clan, your teaching ability is incredible. I think it'll be my turn to become a principal soon. Ho ha ho ha. His sudden childish behavior broke the camaraderie between teacher and student. After a laugh, he handed the recipe to Zun Zun and said, This was originally supposed to be learned in the second half of your studies, but you should already be qualified to explore this field. But first, think about it, are you really willing to risk everything, even your life, to achieve this? Yes, always prepared, very well. Then I shall hand over to you the most precious treasure of this Crimson Demon tribe. After the Crimson Demon tribe skit, Zun Zun received the recipe. Upon opening it, he found it was for a skill point potion, and his eyes lit up with joy. Honestly, the main reason he was going to school was to get free skill point potions. Now that he had the recipe, he could graduate at any time. But there was no rush. At least until he could consistently produce skill point potions, he needed to gain more experience. The teacher added, by the way, technically this school doesn't allow students to brew skill point potions, but if you can find the ingredients yourself, the school won't interfere, so the school's just borrowing the equipment. Zun Zun was a little taken aback. On second thought, that's how it should be. The school doesn't forbid borrowing equipment, but using school materials for personal gain certainly isn't a good idea. Then you can buy the recipe ingredients from the village pharmacy, or ask those neats, no, the people from the Anti-Demon King Army Guerrilla Unit, to get them for you. I see. Thank you, teacher. Zun Zun bowed gratefully. Buying them was impossible, every ingredient in the recipe was sky high. Fire Dragon Heart, Bear Gall, Horned Rabbit Horn, Anil Maiden Root, and a bunch of other supplementary ingredients. At first, he assumed the skill point potion cost tens of millions due to the complexity of the production process and the cost of crafting. He didn't expect the necessary materials to be so expensive. Looks like I'll have to ask those neats for help, Zun Zun sighed softly. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Anil's Thousand-Layered Routine. He asks Nido for help. Although he said so, unlike others, he still counts on Sister Teoluo. When Zun Zun heard that he was going out of the village to collect materials, Sister Teoluo, worried about possible accidents, decisively asked him to accompany him. And since Sister Teoluo was going, Green Broccoli, of course, would not be missing, and took the initiative to ask her to accompany him. Together with Yunyun, who wanted to help, a team of 4 was quickly formed. At first, Megumin also wanted to go, but powerful explosive magic could easily destroy the materials, and Megumin without magic was a burden, so Zun Zun did not give in despite her complaints. Outside the Crimson Demon Village. Walking out the main gate, heading towards the plains. Yunyun, I didn't expect you to join the Night Watch team. Aren't you determined to become the leader of the Crimson Demon clan? Zun Zun felt somewhat curious. He hadn't seen much of her during that time, and thought she had gone to participate in the test. Ignoring Night Green Broccoli's complaints, Yunyun nodded and said, my father told me that if I wanted to inherit the position of clan leader, I had to show concrete results, so he sent me to join the Anti-Demon King Army Guerrilla Unit, to hone my skills. That's right, you said you wanted to protect your friends and didn't want them to get hurt again, but Yunyun is trying really hard. Green Broccoli was impressed. The monster's attack earlier forced her to learn intermediate magic, and the fact that it almost made Megumin give up explosive magic still affected her. It wasn't her fault. Unfazed by the praise, Yunyun lowered her head shyly. Indeed, just wanting to protect everyone was enough to be clan leader. The 3 of them looked at her with a smile. Then, Sister Teoliao said, Zun Zun, stay by my side when you leave the village this time. Do you understand? Okay, Zun Zun nodded. He didn't consider himself weak, he could kill a mid-level demon instantly, and even a high-level one could withstand a few hits. But Sister Teoluo, like any parent, was afraid that her son would be hurt outside. Faced with such sincere concern, she naturally chose to obey. Green Coconut Zay patted his chest and reassured him, don't worry, I'll protect Zun Zun, that's enough, you better take care of yourself. Their main objectives this time outside the village were the Fire Dragon's Heart and the Anil Girl's Root. As for the one-hit bear and the horned rabbit, Sister Teoluo hunted many in the mountains every day, so they had no shortage of materials. The fire dragon wasn't a fire dragon, just a giant lizard that could breathe fire. However, with a massive body 8 meters long and 3 meters wide, it was practically useless to ordinary adventurers. However, Damned Crystal Prison, Green coconut Zay froze the fire-breathing giant lizard from the neck down with a single gesture. Oh, 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 X3. The three of them clapped their hands. Zun Zun had only seen this exquisite high-level ice magic on his master, but he didn't expect that even a neat like green broccoli could use it. Life really wasn't fair. The talent of the Crimson Demons was enviable. What? I'm a Crimson Demon too? That's all. With Green Broccoli's help, they quickly gathered the Fire Dragon's heart. Only the Anno Maiden's root remains, Zun Zun said with a hint of excitement. Many terrifying monsters swarmed around the Crimson Demon village, and the Anno Maiden was one of them. A plant monster that inflicted no physical harm, it attracted passing adventurers by inducing a strong protective instinct. Its allure was irresistible, and once it captured their attention, it would trap and kill them. Furthermore, this monster possessed high intelligence. When adventurers were nearby, it would smile reassuringly, but upon leaving, it would become tearful. Kind-hearted adventurers were more easily seduced by this monster. Unfortunately, Zun Zun was not kind. The four of them walked along a path lined with dense trees. Given the Anno Maiden's nature, she often played weak and innocent by the side of the path, luring adventurers into her trap. Soon, at the end of the path, they sighted an Anno Maiden. She rested beneath a towering tree, dressed in a tattered nun's robe, the robe loose and stretched, revealing her fair skin. Her face reflected compassionate anguish. While there were no visible wounds, her expression suggested she was enduring pain unimaginable to ordinary humans. Zun Zun was slightly puzzled. This Anno Maiden was different from what he had imagined. Shouldn't she have disguised herself as severely injured to rouse the adventurers' pity? Why was she dressed like a hapless nun? Luckily, she was a monster. If she really was, it would have been a scene like the nun's savage misery, but it didn't matter. Zun Zun had come only to obtain her roots, and her appearance didn't concern him. Sister Trampling, please, huh? Just as he was about to ask Sister Trampling for help, he saw her approaching with a worried expression. Excuse me, are you hurt? Wait, Trampling, you're a monster. Green Coconut J grabbed Sister Trampling's shoulder. Unlike soft-hearted women who are easily fooled, he was a man of unwavering determination, a man whose unwavering determination towards Sister Trampling remained unwavering. Zun Zun nodded. Luckily, Green Coconut J had arrived, otherwise, he wouldn't have known what to do. But Sister Trampling suddenly said, "Are we just going to leave her like this?" That sad, helpless expression seems to be saying, please help her. Isn't helping those in need in the wild a virtue of the Crimson Demons? Yes, Trampling is right. Crimson Demons are supposed to be helpful. Green Coconut J instantly switched sides. Damn neat. Don't you know a dog licker can't get a house? Sister Trampling seemed to have fallen for him, not to mention the compassionate Yunyun. If Zun Zun hadn't held her shoulder, she would have rashly stepped forward. Wait a minute, you two. It's the Maiden of Peace, a monster. This is all just a disguise to attract adventurers. Zun Zun mercilessly broke her cover. However, are they adventurers seeking rest? Or are they just lost? The voice was reassuring, soft, and clear. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, like a fingertip gently brushing the ground, settling upon the nun. Her very presence in the gloom of the forest shone brightly, further hallowing her already beautiful face. Her hands were clasped across her chest, a worried expression on her face. She had seemed to be in pain a moment ago, but now she was worried for others. Even Zun Zun's heart trembled. Damn. This was unimaginable. Normally, a Maiden of Peace would act to evoke a strong protective desire in passing adventurers, but the nun before him was the complete opposite, actively communicating and fostering a bond with her fluidity. Are you all right? The trapped sister asked. Just as he was about to move closer to check, the nun suddenly cried out, No. Don't come near me. This cry startled several people. Just as the trapped sister was puzzled, Anil girl lowered her head and said, Don't come any closer. My roots are out of control and might hurt you. At the same time, a look of regret, helplessness, and sadness appeared on her face. At that moment, Zun Zun understood one thing, this Anil girl was of a very high level. Chapter 56, full of tea flavor. Hearing the monster's concern, Sister Stomping and Green Broccoli were moved. However, Zun Zun sneered. Although Sister Stomping and Green Broccoli were adults, they had not been exposed to the rigors of applications such as the red, blue, yellow, green, purple, black, and white books. To Zun Zun, they were no different than blank slates. Although he had no proof, His instinct told him that the nun-like creature before him was a genuine tea-scented maiden animal. "You seem different from the adventurers who have come before," the nun spoke gently, seemingly speaking of something insignificant, but sadness was evident in her eyes, and her face displayed a forced smile, wanting to cry. What was going on? Had she touched a sore spot? Yunyun was so flustered, speechless. Sister Stomping walked over. Zun Zun grabbed one in each hand and kicked Green Breast, a pervert who was trying to embrace the Maiden of Peace. Then, looking her straight in the eyes, he asked, "I want to know, have you killed everyone who has come here? Everyone hopes to die without pain." The nun didn't argue. She acknowledged her guilt, but as if unable to accept the guilt that condemned her conscience, she clasped her hands and bowed her head, as if praying for the deceased. Is the Maiden of Peace evil? There is no definitive answer. After all, many adventurers believe it is better to die peacefully in the arms of a beautiful Maiden of Peace than to suffer an illness or curse that would make their lives worse than death. I don't want to hurt anyone. I know my existence has hurt humanity, but I can't help it. I can't help it. A tear rolled down the corner of the nun's eye. Many people have no control over their own lives. In fact, just like Zun Zun, forced to live a simple and boring life collecting rent after being promoted by the company, perhaps the animal girl in front of them truly is worried about being a monster? Zun Zun, Yunyun's eyes were already brimming with tears. Although the trapped sister didn't say it directly, the pleading in her eyes was unmistakable. And the nun in front of them seemed to understand something, speaking slowly. "So, you're here to kill me, right?" The four of them fell silent. "I see. That's perfect." Animal girl looked relieved. She raised her head and spoke, almost in a prayerful voice. "The goddess Eris once said that suicide is forbidden in heaven. I know it's a very presumptuous request, and it makes me uncomfortable and guilty, but in order to prevent innocent people from being harmed again, could you please destroy me?" What was this, courting death? Animal girl didn't want to continue harming humans, but instead waited to be destroyed. Perhaps she really was a pure-hearted monster? Whether Zun Zun believed it or not, Sister Trap and Yunyun already believed it. They looked at him with tears in their eyes. After a brief silence, Zun Zun drew the 2-meter-long broadsword from his back and said, "I understand. Since this is your wish, I will help you fulfill it." It was only a model of what the master had prepared during field training, but the sight of the broadsword still caused a flash of panic in the nun's eyes. Those large, expressive eyes seemed to accuse him of lacking compassion. But Animal Girl continued to pretend, whispering sadly and remorsefully, "If possible, I hope to be human in my next life. But, having hurt so many people, do I truly deserve to be human? Goddess Eris, please save me." Then, she secretly opened one eye and looked at Zun Zun. Wait, Zun Zun." This time, it was Yunyun who stopped him, saying excitedly, "Do we have to kill her? She's such a kind monster. Perhaps we could become friends." Friends, the word seemed to resonate with the nun, and she quickly spoke in a nostalgic tone, "Those adventurers were all my friends. Even in my last moment, I prayed for them, wishing them a life without suffering in heaven. There's no need to kill her, right? We just need her roots, right? Couldn't we ask her for some?" Sister Tao Lao also gave her credit. The animal girl was a plant monster. Despite her current humanoid form, her roots probably spread throughout the forest, and a single root wouldn't hurt her. Zun Zun wanted to destroy her completely, but at the pleading gazes of Sister Tao Lao and Yunyun, he finally nodded. After taking a piece of root from the nun, the four of them left. Animal Girl's power was far greater than imagined. If Zun Zun hadn't been baptized by the internet for 2 lifetimes, he would have been completely smitten by the tea-flavored quotes just now. Even after walking a long distance, Yunyun and Sister Tao Lao couldn't help but look back, as if they were still worried about Animal Girl. This couldn't be. Sister Tao Lao and Yunyun were both kind-hearted people. What if the Animal Girl from just now was evil, trying to take advantage of their compassion? Thinking of this, Zun Zun said to the 3 people walking in front of him, "Sister Tao Lao, I have to go to the bathroom urgently. I need to go first." "Hey, then we can go together." No, I'll be back soon." Without giving Sister Tao Lao a chance to go hand in hand, Zun Zun turned around and ran into the woods like a shy child, then quickly ran to where Animal Girl was located. Upon arriving, I saw the nun pruning the dense foliage from the branches of the large tree behind her, muttering, "That's not right. Is it the light? Or is it that the clothes aren't torn enough?" She tore at her already tattered nun's uniform several more times, exposing large areas of fair skin, giving her an even more desolate look. And then, Are they adventurers seeking rest? Or are they simply lost? Her voice was still reassuring, soft and clear. With her hands clasped and her head bowed, the prune trees cast a more radiant light, illuminating her with a sacred and solemn presence, completely losing her monstrous appearance. Not bad, she nodded in satisfaction. Then, she turned over the soil, lifted the tree roots, and, looking at the new cross-section, her expression was grim. Damn it! How dare you tear me away? That wicked brat! What a waste of that pretty face! He never believed me all this time. The Anil girl kicked the tree behind her furiously, seemingly furious. The nun's aura of holiness and solemnity vanished. She looked like a shrew, unable to bear the loss, and hurled uncontrollable insults at Zun Zun, the trapped sister, and the other two. Forget it, let's photosynthesize for a while. Then, crossing her legs again, with her hands behind her head, she leaned against the tree to rest. But it doesn't matter. Look at that woman and that child. They must have been bewitched by me. They'll probably come around later. Although she looks thin, she has unexpectedly fleshy breasts. I think they'll make good food. Friends? Hey, friends are delicious. She licked her lips, as if savoring something. At that moment, the sunlight shining on her face was hidden, and the Anil girl visibly frowned, mistakenly thinking that something had fallen on the tree, blocking the light. However, when she opened her eyes and saw Zun Zun standing before her, "Adventurer, are you worried about me and have come back? Or are you feeling guilty and want to confess your sins?" She put on the nun's attire again. Zun Zun rolled his eyes and said in disgust, "Enough. You've already given yourself away, Tisk." A clear exclamation of astonishment was evident, but when Zun Zun looked at her, he quickly changed into the compassionate nun's attire. Zun Zun crossed his arms. "Answer me one question. If you're right, I'll let you go. What's wrong? Who do you serve?" "Eris," the nun replied cautiously. Zun Zun stepped forward and wordlessly slapped him hard. "You're wearing the uniform of an Axis nun and claim to serve Eris." Soon, Zun Zun caught up with the trapped sisters and the others in front. Seeing Zun Zun dragging a tree root even larger than him, they were visibly stunned. "Zun Zun, this is the Anil Maiden's root, right? Where did you get it?" "I found it." Zun Zun's face lit up with an innocent smile. Unseen by the others, a crosscut of the tree root was flawless, and his adventurer card had also been upgraded. Chapter 57 Cherry Balm. After obtaining the Anil girl's root, Zun Zun and his companions were in no hurry to return. Although the other auxiliary materials were inexpensive, the four of them, adhering to the principle of frugality and saving as much as possible during their journey, continued their search in the forest. Now they split up. They needed a Mary Rose plant to make a skill point potion. Although its name may sound strange, it was actually simply rosemary, a type of spice. It served to enhance the potion and add a subtle fragrance. According to its habitat, it should be found in a semi-shaded bush. Zun Zun searched carefully. Just as he spotted a rosemary plant and was about to pick it, a heavy object struck him on the back of his head. "It hurts." The sudden attack obscured his vision and made him stagger. The force of the blow was so strong that, if he didn't possess a divine body and relatively strong defenses, he would already be unconscious on the ground. He clutched his aching head and carefully observed his surroundings. He didn't see any suspicious figures, nor any trace of any animals nearby. There was nothing disordered on the ground, indicating that it wasn't a stone thrown from afar. Could it be a joke? Many members of the Crimson Demon clan possess light refraction magic. This type of magic creates a barrier with a radius of several meters, centered around a designated person or object, obscuring the surrounding area. They usually learn this magic to show off when necessary. But given the Crimson Demon clan's temperament, they wouldn't play such a gratuitous prank. If they encountered them in the wild, they would simply scream and become stunned. Yes, it must be an illusion. Just kidding. Even if it wasn't a Crimson Demon clan, there was definitely danger nearby. The Crimson Demon village was teeming with demons and monsters. If they weren't careful, they could be devoured whole. Zun Zun feigned ignorance, but inwardly, he was alert and sharpened his awareness. He slowly bent down to pick up the rosemary again. At that moment, with a bang, he received another blow to the back of his head. "Damn you!" Zun Zun turned his head sharply, but there was nothing behind him. The silent forest was only filled with the distant sound of birdsong. Was this really light refraction magic? This magic wasn't perfect, anyone who approached would be detected. With the speed with which he had turned his head, it was impossible for anyone to have approached. Could it be Megumin? Vengeful because he hadn't brought her with him, secretly following him? Zun Zun was already beginning to wonder what to do. And then, before he could even think about what to do, the unknown being, as if impatient, struck him again on the back of his head. Zun Zun was completely furious, spun his head around, and shouted, "Are you done? You said it hurt. You've never seen a crimson demon. Whatever you are, do you dare come out and fight me? I'll give you a taste of your own medicine." My God, what did he see? Cherries, flying through the sky? He saw 2 cherries joined by a stem. The fruit was about 5 centimeters in diameter, the largest cherry Zun Zun had ever seen. The cherries were heart-shaped, crystal clear, and beautiful, their surface adorned with dewdrops, making them look even sweeter and more delicious. But the problem was, they actually flew. Even if Zun Zun were dead, nailed to his coffin, from his grave, he would use his rotten vocal cords to shout. There's a flaw in the planting system, goddess. The 2 uncovered cherries collided with each other, producing a steely, crisp sound like a child's joyful laughter. Are you the one who attacked me, fruit? Zun Zun frowned. These 2 cherries were definitely rare and extremely high-quality ingredients, as could be seen from how they had just concealed their presence, even making themselves invisible. I don't have time to play with you, don't bother me. But Zun Zun's words went unnoticed by the 2 cherries. They disappeared from sight in an instant, and the next second, he received another blow to the back of the head. These 2, Zun Zun turned his head sharply, but he didn't see them. Then he received another blow to the head, and no matter how hard he turned, he couldn't see them. He simply didn't locate them. It wasn't that they were hiding, but that they were incredibly fast, always getting behind him before he could turn around. What a joke. Zun Zun wasn't going to be fooled, especially not by cherries. First, he dashed forward without warning, trying to distance himself from them. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the 2 cherries stop, then quickly catch up to him and duck their heads just before hitting him. Thanks to the cherries' proactive exposure, Zun Zun could sense their presence, allowing him to use it to evade their attack. After dodging them, Zun Zun changed direction and continued running, putting distance between them. Then, between chases, he turned and used all his strength to punch the cherries, who were too fast to dodge. With a dull thud, his fist impacted against the cherries. Thump. Zun Zun's mouth curved slightly, but it quickly curled back up, a pained expression evident on his face. It hurts, he rubbed his red fist. What a joke. Is that really a cherry? How can it be so hard? It could kill even a mid-level demon with a single blow. Zun Zun's fist felt as if he had struck a piece of adamantium, considered the hardest mineral, refined to its maximum hardness. The 2 cherries collided again, emitting a crisp sound, like an irritating taunt. Zun Zun knew he couldn't continue fighting them. His priority was to catch his sister and the others. If they couldn't defeat them, wouldn't they just try to move out of the way? But they were cunning. Realizing that Zun Zun couldn't harm them, they flew even faster. Zun Zun, so focused on dodging their attacks, paid no attention to the height difference and accidentally landed in a shallow pit. The crisp sound of the collision echoed through the air, his mockery undisguised. Zun Zun's eyes grew increasingly red, his cheeks flushing as red as Tom's. Warning, warning, echoed in his head. Damn it. Was there any way to make them suffer as well? Zun Zun resisted the urge to take out his adventurer card to learn magic, but his hands unconsciously shot out for his arms. Suddenly, he felt a stick and his eyes sped up, as a thought formed in his mind. He lay motionless in the pit, as if unconscious. The 2 cherries in the sky exchanged a glare, then slowly made their way towards Zun Zun, as if concerned about their unconsciousness. Just then, Zun Zun grabbed some mud from the pit and threw it at the cherries, who didn't have time to dodge. Then, he whipped out his staff, Anal Girl's root, and smashed it down at them. While Anal Girl's capturing organ was fragile, she was still a plant-type monster, and her roots were incredibly strong. With a single blow, she blew the cherries to the ground. Zun Zun pointed at the mud-covered cherries on the ground and laughed heartily, venting all his anger at the teasing. The offense has changed, brother. However, the 2 cherries in the pit seemed to grow angry. Their original crystalline crimson color gradually turned purple-red, and magical energy continued to gather toward their center. Attention, attention. Watching the 2 cherries grow larger and larger, Zun Zun's alarm was truly raised. Could it be possible? The next moment, a loud explosion echoed through the forest. His anxiety was confirmed. Chapter 58. Do I have emergency food too? The surge of magical energy swept through like an explosion, its powerful repulsive force leveling the surrounding trees and earth. Zun Zun barely managed to avoid being blown away by the wind by clinging to a huge tree. By the time it was over and the smoke cleared, the shallow pit had become bottomless, and the surrounding trees and jungle were completely destroyed, as if blown away by a violent wind. Zun Zun had seen such scenes before, but he had never seen two cherries cause such destruction. And the destructive force was almost as powerful as explosive magic. So the planting system is truly flawed. Goddess. Zun Zun wiped the mud off his face and stared at the two cherries floating above the pit. Their size had returned to normal, their color had changed from deep red to brilliant red, but Zun Zun would never underestimate them again. The two cherries puffed up their fruits anthropomorphically, as if puffing out their chests to boast about their accomplishments. It's just a fruit, yet it possesses such high intelligence, and it looks like a child. Annoying children are the most annoying. I get it, it's definitely a troll. And the Crimson Demons respond to any trolling. Long ago, Zun Zun had been cultivating his magical control, and after treading on trees and water, he finally reached the next stage. He wrapped his hands in magical energy. He had originally planned to condense it into a Rasengan, or at least wrap it around his hands in a spiral. However, this technique required too much magical control, so all Zun Zun could do now was wrap his hands in magical energy, just as he had done when treading on trees and water. Even that was enough. Zun Zun didn't need to defeat the two cherries in front of him, he just needed to hold on until he could catch his sister and the others. The explosion earlier would surely have caught their attention. By then, 3 high-ranking Grand Magisters wouldn't be able to subdue a mere cherry. Pale red magic enveloped his hands like gloves, and he spread his legs back and forth, assuming a standard counterattack stance. The school didn't just teach them how to speak and strike a pose before a battle. Even for the weakest Grand Magi, the Crimson Demons placed considerable emphasis on close-quarters combat skills. So, if you're mistaking Zun Zun for a weak, explosive magician like Megumin, you're mistaken. The two cherries, after clearly looking surprised, suddenly attacked Zun Zun. Not to be outdone, Zun Zun swung his fist, colliding with the cherries again. It really hurt. Even with a magical energy, the blows against his adamantium hard body still hurt. But Zun Zun held his breath. He could be defeated by a Demon King's general, by the village's experienced Grand Mages, or even by a high-ranking demon. But his pride wouldn't allow him to lose to a mere fruit, let alone two cherries. Even if they were rare and precious ingredients, and incredibly powerful. Each man and each cherry engaged in a fierce duel. They didn't use sophisticated techniques, simply a straightforward exchange. Their fists collided against the cherry's body, the clashes intensifying, their speed increasing, their strength augmenting. Zun Zun's fist had already turned a deep crimson, partly from the increased magic and partly from the pain. The cherry was similarly swollen, turning purplish-red and significantly larger than before. Although they were a pair, Zun Zun still had a pair of fists. At a critical moment, Zun Zun and the cherry collided again. Neither of them could do anything, and when they were forced to separate, the two seemingly hopeless cherries swelled and glowed red-hot again, their magical energies steadily building within their tiny bodies. Are you still coming? I wasn't prepared before, and you almost knocked me over. How could I let you do as you please this time? Zun Zun unwaveringly gathered his magical energy, his crimson eyes gradually glowed, and his mental power surged. I'm atomic, a cherry bomb. With a sharp, scorching sound, like a drop of water falling into a pan of boiling oil, Zun Zun's magic and the cherry bomb erupted simultaneously. Two circular pillars of magic continued to expand, colliding and squeezing together as if neither would give way, each occupying half the space before merging into a larger pillar that soared into the sky. Boom. World nuclear warp. His own magic exhausted, Zun Zun's body collapsed, unable to move. He had used up all his magic to counter the cherry bombs, but he also had to acknowledge the strength of the two cherries. Two explosions of equal magnitude spoke volumes. If he still couldn't do anything to them. Zun Zun stared at the cherry swaying before him, his heart full of words to say to the goddess, and wondered why trapped sister and the others hadn't arrived yet. He expected the cherry to attack again, but it slowly raised a cherry. Zun Zun, for some reason, extended his right fist and gently touched it. A feeling of mutual understanding arose. Let's not talk about the inexplicable sympathy between them. What on earth is this sympathy between two cherries? The cherries slowly fell into Zun Zun's palm. Although they didn't have a mouth, Zun Zun could still clearly sense the thoughts they conveyed. I hope she can eat them. Yes, this is Suqing. The strange planting system is confusing. For example, the cabbage doesn't want to be eaten, so it flies through the sky and then hides in an empty corner to die quietly. And the 2 cherries in front of me seem to long to find someone stronger and be devoured by the other side after defeat. How can I eat this? One foot remains a good friend who pities, and the other foot eats the other? Pike and lie? Zun Zun turned around, tapped the 2 cherries in his right palm with his left index finger, and said, "That's enough. I won't eat them. Go away." But the 2 cherries stubbornly refused to leave. It wasn't until Zun Zun tried to push them away that, as if making a decision, they approached him and began to cut his hair. Zun Zun didn't understand what they were trying to do, and since he was completely exhausted, he simply let them do it. Soon, Zun Zun's slightly long hair was cut into a wolf-tailed mullet. The 2 cherries were attached to her hair like rubber bands, and as if satisfied, they clicked together, producing a cracking sound on the back of her neck. The message was clear: they were ready to serve as backup rations. "Do I have emergency food too?" Zun Zun asked, a little puzzled, but he knew he wouldn't eat them. After all, these 2 cherries had become friends. Well, since they were friends, they should have names. If we have one, we'll call it Palna. That's the name of the largest cherry variety in the world. When they realized they had a name, the 2 cherries let out another cracking sound. Zun Zun also lost consciousness completely. Luckily, before he lost consciousness, he saw Green Coconut Zay and Sister Trap running over. He couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the village security team, their timing was perfect. Chapter 59 Wei Yiji. When Zun Zun opened his eyes again, he found himself lying in the school infirmary. On the bed next to him lay another person. It was Yunyun. Sister Tao Lao had told him that Yunyun had also been in danger in the wild and had arrived before him. Could that be why Sister Tao Lao and Green Broccoli Zay had arrived so late? And how had Yunyun gotten hurt? But considering that she hadn't even dared to attack the horned rabbit, which was pretending to be weak and defenseless, he guessed that she was injured for some reason. Zun Zun breathed a sigh of relief when the medical professor told him that Yunyun was fine and would recover the next day. As for the cherries that had attacked him, Zun Zun asked the professor, and the answer he got was similar to his guess. These cherries, scientifically known as King Kong cherries, are rare and valuable ingredients. They are born with twins, capable of condensing and diffusing magical energy, being used as bombs. Furthermore, they are infallible fighters. As they mature, they search the world for powerful beings, be they humans, dragons, or demons, to devour if they defeat them. The master also said that eating them would grant them about 5 levels of experience. How exaggerated. Farfetch was already a relatively high-level rare ingredient, but it only gained 2 levels of experience. And most importantly, the 5 levels of experience the master mentioned were calculated based on the experience of a great mage. In Suqing, higher level classes require more experience points to level up, especially for the great mage. Even so, Zun Zun wouldn't eat them. Because his magic power had been depleted and Yunyun was injured, they had to part ways. The remaining ingredients would have to wait until the next time or be purchased directly from the pharmacy. Upon returning home, they found Mimi huddled by the door. Seeing Zun Zun, her eyes lit up, and she called out, "You're back, brother Zun Zun." From the address, it was evident that she was begging. Mimi had 2 targets for food, the neighbor, Green Broccoli Zay, and another neighbor, Zun Zun. No one could resist the adorable Mimi, and Zun Zun took her home for a delicious dinner. Afterward, the 2 played together. Mimi was still holding the tool that sealed the evil god. Every time Zun Zun saw her, he felt a mixture of emotions. Megumin had already told him that it was Mimi who had cracked the evil god. It was truly amazing that she could accomplish such a feat at such a young age. Zun Zun then asked about Host. Mimi was surprised that he knew about Host, but she obediently replied that she hadn't seen Host in a while and didn't know where he had gone. Come to think of it, if Host were still around, Mimi wouldn't have to come to him for food. At dusk, Megumin rushed into Zun Zun's house, anxiously asking, "Zun Zun, is Mimi home? I've looked everywhere, but I can't find her." Mimi, she was visibly relieved to see Mimi. "Mimi, how come you didn't tell me you were coming? And didn't you say you'd wait for me at home?" "I forgot." Mimi spoke with such confidence that Megumin couldn't blame her, but the next words hit her hard. "Because Nei-san didn't cook?" "No, don't call me Nei-san, Mimi." "And where did you learn that word need?" Megumin glared at Zun San, who looked innocent behind her. Wait. Did she think it was her fault? Megumin took a deep breath and sweetly explained to Mimi what a NEET was. He explained that it wasn't that he didn't work, but that he couldn't find a job, that no one understood his philosophy, and how could someone unemployed be considered a NEET? The room was filled with joy. As Megumin and Mimi left, he suddenly said to Zun Zun, "Can you come to the forbidden area tomorrow, please? I have something important to tell you." "Yes, I can." "Huh? Calling someone out of the blue and saying something important? Could it be a confession?" Zun Zun's heart skipped a beat. And then, the next day, upon arriving at the forbidden area, he was stunned to see the potatoes bouncing in the field and the two extremely aggressive spring onions that threatened to hunt each other if they accidentally collided. Who told him to grow rare ingredients? Megumin, you? I have no choice. Going to Alcanrisha costs 300,000 eris, and common vegetables don't fetch a high price, so I have to grow them. Since his sister had graduated from magic and spent her days training in the mountains, she was able to hunt a large number of monsters. So, since she had no shortage of food, Zun Zun gave the farm to Megumin, allowing her to grow her own crops to supplement the family income. Unexpectedly, she had grown rare ingredients. "You asked me to come, didn't you want me to help you harvest, please?" Megumin fell to her knees. The rare ingredients were more difficult than the last. Zun Zun, having learned his lesson, didn't underestimate these potatoes and scallions. But after his shins were repeatedly hit by the potatoes and the backs of his hands by the scallions, he could hold back no longer. With a punch, he smashed a knotty potato that was still bouncing into pieces. His crimson eyes glared at the twitching potatoes in the field, as if warning them of the consequences if they didn't obey. Then, he sprayed the scallions with a herbicide. The once stubborn ones immediately crouched down, while the others huddled together for warmth, refusing to budge even when cut. With the vegetables' cooperation, the harvest was completed in a matter of hours. Much of this was thanks to Zun Zun. Afterward, the two of them, covered in mud, took their harvest to a farmer in the village to buy it, receiving 50,000 eris. 50,000. 3 months of hard work and only 50,000 eris, Megumin asked, staring in disbelief at the fragile note in her hand. The farmer buying from her wasn't happy either, saying, "That's a fair price. It's been this way for years, and your harvesting methods are so crude that they've ruined the crops. If it weren't for the fact that you're Piao Saburo's daughter, I wouldn't have agreed to this. In short, stop talking nonsense and focus on yourself, on whether you've worked diligently." Seeing the ugly crops, Megumin realized it was her inexperience. But at this rate, saving 300,000 eris would take forever. Megumin, after a long pause, stared at the meager bills in her hand. "There are priorities," she said. "Now that it's come to this, I'm desperate. It seems I can only resort to selling my body as a last resort." "Huh? That said, I'm smaller than your average kid, and I'm not sure I'm up to the task." "Up to the task? Up to what?" "The guy at the pharmacy said he'd give me a ton of money if I behaved and cooperated, so..." "Hey, Zun Zun, where are you going with it, axe? Mushroom picking?" Zun Zun's eyes flashed crimson. That night, screams were heard again from Crimson Devil Village, leading the adults to mistakenly believe that the ghost had reappeared. Chapter 60 Demon. Under Zun Zun's care, Yunyun didn't wake up until late at night. Graduating students weren't supposed to return to school, but with the teacher's tacit permission, she received treatment in the infirmary. The superior healing potion was truly effective. A single bottle completely cured both Yunyun and Zun Zun. Yunyun apologized profusely for her injury, forcing her to stop collecting materials. Zun Zun didn't blame her. After all, she had asked him for help, and her injury was her fault, not to mention her own subsequent coma. After her injuries healed, Yunyun left the school. She was now a guerrilla, patrolling the village for demonic intrusions, a demanding task. Zun Zun continued attending school as usual. With a skill point potion recipe and enough materials, how could they not try? With a teacher's guidance and Gaohu's help, it took them 5 attempts before they finally succeeded. As expected of a superior potion, the brewing was extremely demanding, and even the slightest mistake could ruin the ingredients. Considering the price of the ingredients, it seemed he had lost quite a bit this time. His mouth twitched slightly. As expected, enchantment can impoverish you for 3 generations, and alchemy can ruin your life. The time traveler was right. Even so, the master praised him as a genius and rewarded him with a skill point potion. Zun Zun instantly felt ridiculous for wasting so much time gathering materials and wasting energy on potion brewing. He would rather please the master than go to such extremes. The master also explained that skill point potions, like stamina potions, can have different effects depending on the ingredients they add. If special ingredients were added, a single potion could add not just 1 skill point, but 2 or even 3. However, no one had tried it yet, and he hoped Zun Zun would be able to do so one day. For a magic item creator who had just learned how to make advanced potions, expanding the complexity of his creations was a completely unrealistic goal, but he had noted it down nonetheless. At home, he had wanted to share his success with his sister, Trouble, but she seemed rather complacent. After asking around, he found out. It turned out he had an important client today. While Sister Taolo preferred swordsmanship, her divination skills were truly divine, while Zun Zun had no talent in that field whatsoever. Perhaps it was because Sister Taolo had absorbed all of their mother's natural talent for divination. The client's name was Mitsurugi Hibiki. They had last heard of him 6 months ago, when he had come to the Crimson Demon Village to recruit mages in search of a partner to defeat the Demon King. Ruan Hu and Dong Donggu were quite tempted. Did he say, "No, he's back," Sister Taolo explained with a smile. "He wanted to find a partner to defeat the Demon King, so he asked me for a divination. I told him that in the future, he would meet a high priest of the Akusis cult. That person would become a crucial figure in determining the fate of the world, so he must protect him at all costs. And then he received a generous reward." Zun Zun seemed to know who Sister Taolo was talking about. Without a doubt, it was Aqua. The stupid goddess was undoubtedly very important to this world, but the problem was that she had no intention of allying with Mitsurugi Hibiki, so no matter how much he begged or tempted, it was all in vain. Zun Zun asked curiously, "What about Mitsurugi Hibiki? Is he still in the Crimson Demon Village?" "No, he left in a hurry after the divination. But I heard that he is going to Alkenrisha to look for his future allies," Sister Trap said. Alkenrisha, the City of Water, was a place Megumin had always wanted to visit, and it was also the headquarters of the Axis cult. Did Mitsurugi Hibiki think he could find his future allies there? Did he know that the Axis cult was full of mentally ill people? What was the difference between actively seeking them out and falling into their trap? Zun Zun could already foresee that poor Mitsurugi Hibiki would be manipulated by the cunning Axis cultists. It didn't matter, it was just a minor matter. Sister Taolo noticed that Zun Zun was also very happy today. Upon inquiring, she learned that her brother had successfully created an ability potion, an ability that only elite Crimson Demons could create. She happily congratulated him and announced that he was one step closer to conquering the world, and he wasn't done yet. Zun Zun dreaded the day when, under Sister Taolo's expectations, he would be forced to conquer the world. On second thought, becoming the new Demon King didn't seem so bad. Life after that was relatively uneventful. Megumin took on many jobs to earn money for her journey, but every shop in the village turned her down. Finally, Yunyun couldn't stand it any longer and offered to help, but, as expected, she was also rejected, even by the daughter of the tribe leader. During this time, Zun Zun, after wasting many materials, successfully brewed 2 skill potions. Meanwhile, his studies were about to end. He skipped many classes, such as the traditional Crimson Demon greetings and opening standard letters. After exclaiming, "I'm sick of this bureaucracy," the teacher flatly agreed to let him skip these classes and rewarded him with a skill potion. One day, just as Zun Zun was about to go to the wishing well to practice, someone called out to him. "Little sister, brother, Zun Zun's eyes lit up, and at first, he took a liking to her. The person in front of him was probably a woman. She was tall, almost half a head taller than Zun Zun, with a rather broad and enviable chest. She wore her mage hood low, revealing only the area below her mouth, with a few strands of red hair cascading down. "Big sister, are you from out of town? The village has recently started planning a tourist attraction, so it's common to see strangers." Big sister nodded. "Yes, sorry for calling you. I'm actually lost in the village. Could you show me the entrance, little brother?" "No problem. Big sister, go straight ahead. Turn left, and you'll see a griffin statue made with petrification magic. Right ahead is the village entrance." Zun Zun pointed in the direction of the entrance. A griffin statue made with petrification magic, the corners of his lips, uncovered by the hood, twitched noticeably. Who would have imagined that such a lifelike statue was made of petrification magic, and that it was a powerful griffin, rivaling a dragon? Really? Thank you. The elder sister thanked him and prepared to leave. As they passed, Zun Zun caught a glimpse of a distinctive scent among the faint aromas. It was a distinctive scent, not that of food, flowers, or body odor, but something far more distinctive, a scent he felt he had smelled somewhere before. Recovering his forgotten memories and comparing them, he felt as if he had smelled the same scent on Hoster before. And subconsciously muttered to himself, a demon, the elder sister, her back to Zun Zun, stopped. Chapter 61. Knock him down and bring him back. The demons of Sonor are practically the same as we imagine them. They all exist in this world, feeding on human emotions. They range from small monsters called demons to the succubi adored by men. Axel's popular succubus shop thrives on the exuberant energy of male adventurers. More useless knowledge. The sister demon in front of him tensed for a moment before slowly turning around. Although he couldn't see her eyes, he had the illusion that she was staring at him. Then, after a pause, she said, "Little brother, I'm not a demon. Are you mistaken? Also, don't call anyone a demon so easily. You'll anger them." She didn't seem to admit it. Zun Zun, however, crossed his arms and said, "Big sister, there's no need to hide it. Your scent already gives you away." "Sorry, I smelled the same scent on another demon before." Scent. The demon sister quickly raised her arm and clothes to sniff. "No, it's not bad." Zun Zun waved his hand and said, "Elder sister, you smell very good, but there's a very particular scent. I rarely smell it, so it's still present in my mind." The demon sister found it hard to accept. The corners of her lips twitched, and she couldn't help but say, "Could it be that you're a girl, huh?" Zun Zun's eyes widened, aggrieved. Then he vaguely heard something about goddess, scent, and demon, but she muttered it in a low voice, so it was difficult to hear clearly. Seeing her identity exposed, the demon sister no longer concealed her appearance. She lifted her hood to reveal her red hair, demonic horns, and pale yellow eyes like a beast's. She was certainly a beautiful woman. She introduced herself, "I'm Ernest, and you, Zun Zun." Oh, the names of crimson demons were very strange. If Ernest hadn't met two little crimson demons, he would have thought the little girl in front of him was lying. No, he shouldn't worry about that. Ernest looked at Zun Zun with sharp eyes. "I didn't expect them to discover my identity." "That's right, I'm Ernest, a high-ranking demon. If you don't tell anyone about me, I'll let you go." "Big sister, you don't want your demonic identity to be discovered, do you, huh?" Zun Zun could clearly see the surprise on her face. Ernest said in disbelief, "I'm a high-ranking demon, a true high-ranking demon." The strength of demons varied greatly, and the highest-ranking ones were extremely ferocious. Defeating a high-ranking demon would require several Grand Magisters capable of using high-level magic. And this little girl, who might not even have learned magic, dared to threaten him? As if reading her mind, Zun Zun warned her, "Elder sister, please don't forget that this is the Crimson Demon tribe. We have as many Grand Magisters as we want. If I shout, you'll be the one in trouble." Ernest pursed his lips. Zun Zun was right. The Crimson Demons were a strange and peculiar group that the Demon King's army feared. If they were alerted, Walbach's identity could be exposed. And wasn't he discreetly infiltrating the Crimson Demons to avoid unnecessary complications while he took Master Walbach away? He had already agreed with the little girl temporarily raising Master Walbach to come and take him away tomorrow. If anything happened now, the plan would be abandoned. After convincing himself, Ennis took a deep breath and asked, "Then what do you want? Pay me, huh?" "Elder sister, haven't you heard the saying? He who acknowledges 100,000 is a hero. If you give me 100,000 Eris, I can pretend I didn't see you. I can even cover for you if necessary." Crafting ability potions has been a bit of a chore lately, and Zun Zun urgently needs to replenish his coffers. Blackmail. Blatant blackmail. Ennis's face flushed with rage. The little girl had just extorted 300,000 Eris from her, using the pretext that Lord Walbach was her beloved, close friend, and brother, and now, the Crimson Demon child in front of her was doing the same thing. If she hadn't been afraid of causing a ruckus, she would have been furious. The demons didn't display their power, believing themselves to be mere sheep. Ennis narrowed her yellow eyes, a furious gaze like that of a beast about to pounce on its prey, clearly unable to hold back any longer. "You inherently evil Crimson Demon brat, I'm going to explode, damn it." Boom. A wave of magical energy exploded, sending a small mushroom cloud through the village. Zun Zun didn't even give Ennis the chance to speak. He knew from the moment he met her that he wasn't confident he could defeat the higher-level demon, not to mention that he hadn't learned magic yet. So, when Anus showed her hostility, Zun Zun wordlessly exploded. It wasn't him who exploded, but the cherry bomb. He needed to charge up his energy to explode, but the cherry bomb didn't, and the resulting power was much lower. But that was enough. Zun Zun's goal wasn't to defeat Ernest, but to serve as a warning, letting the villagers know to hurry. Ernest, shattered by the explosion, was stunned. His only intention was to threaten Zun Zun, not attack him. Who would have imagined that Zun Zun would explode like this, physically? The Crimson Demons were empty-minded idiots. Ernest flapped her wings and rose into the air, unsure of the purpose of the attack. If she hadn't dodged in time, she would have been caught in the crossfire. Zun Zun knelt on the ground and gasped, "My mission is accomplished, oh no. We should have alerted the others." "Should we retreat?" Ernest grumbled. She had almost captured Lord Wabak, but this damned Crimson Demon had ruined her plans. Suddenly, a flash of light passed by Ernest's face, stunned in midair. It didn't go directly towards her head, but deliberately grazed it. A trickle of blood stained Ernest's cheek. Several Crimson Demons sprang up from the forest, staring at Ernest in the sky and shouting, "We saw the explosion and were wondering what was going on, so we came to check it out." "Hey, demon, what are you doing in our Crimson Demon village? You're not the explosion maniac who's been causing trouble near our village lately, are you?" Just like Megumin described, a horned demon with a good-looking body and broad pate, right, Green Coconut J shouted, pointing at Ernest. Huh? Hearing the question, Ernest's momentum weakened considerably. Zun Zun also remembered that when Megumin wreaked havoc with her explosive magic, he had manufactured a horned demon to prevent the villagers from blaming her. In other words, Ernest had implicitly taken the blame for Megumin's misfortune. "Ah, I understand now," a member asked, suddenly pointing at Zun Zun, who was half kneeling on the ground. You sure failed to defeat Zun Zun earlier, so you're here seeking revenge, right? Huh? Suddenly, Ernest let out another confused cry. Meanwhile, many Crimson Demons had heard the commotion and gathered nearby. "Look! He's brought Zun Zun to his knees. Perhaps he'll force him to go back to work." "What? Zun Zun is still a child? Unforgivable. Doesn't he know that Zun Zun is the best member of the Crimson Demon tribe so far, a treasure to us?" the Crimson Demon shouted indignantly. The falsely accused Ernest had sweat running down her face. Then, noticing a Crimson Demon secretly chanting a spell, she flapped her wings decisively and flew towards the village entrance, pursued again and again by the frenzied Crimson Demons. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Deep Blue, Score Points. As Ernest wept, chased by the frenzied Crimson Demons, Zun Zun slowly got up from the ground and shook off the mud. Although Ernest was a high-ranking demon, his mind wasn't entirely in good condition, which was why he was being manipulated so much. Having been scared away by the Crimson Demons, he probably wouldn't be returning anytime soon. Zun Zun, are you okay?" At that moment, two people emerged from the nearby bushes. It was Megumin and Yunyun. "What are you doing here?" Zun Zun asked in surprise, and then he realized it was a silly question. The explosion had alarmed many Crimson Demons, so it was only natural that Megumin and Yunyun were there. Speaking of which, Zun Zun looked at Megumin, who was holding the little black cat and didn't dare to look at him, and subconsciously said, "You too, could you have been here a long time ago? You're just watching the show?" "No, that's not the case," Yunyun quickly explained. "It's not that we don't come out to help, but the adults in the village, that's what I mean. Zun Zun knows the magic I know, right?" "What if the explosion magic hurts you?" Megumin said righteously. Obviously, she was the one who watched someone die without helping. Friendship is over. Also, Zun Zun, why did you expose my identity? I made a deal with that older sister using Mame no Sukuro, and she already paid 300,000 Eris for it. What should we do about the deal in this case? He never expected Megumin to turn the tables on him. Yunyun shook her slender shoulders excitedly, shouting, "Megumin, you actually made a deal with a demon and used Mame no Suk? Do you even have a conscience?" I didn't know she was a demon. Besides, this is the best deal. After all, I'm going on an adventure soon, and taking her with me might harm her. It's better to give her to someone who can protect her, Megumin shouted. In fact, she had hidden from Yunyun that KonoSuba was an incarnation of the evil god, otherwise, Yunyun would definitely have stopped her from giving her to someone else. The two of them argued about this. Zun Zun had no prejudice against demons. After all, none of the demons he encountered, whether it was host or Wiz, had any intention of harming anyone. Anus was also relatively friendly to humans. Even when she wanted to take the incarnation of the evil god, she made a deal instead of taking it by force. Meanwhile, the Accusa's cult, that was no ordinary church. Yunyun suddenly said, now that the demon has escaped, does that mean the deal is off? No, it seems she left in such a hurry that she forgot the deposit. Megumin took out a bulging purse from her shrunken bosom and said triumphantly, there are 300,000 heirs here. I'll use that as the teleportation cost. Outrageous. Yunyun loudly condemned their unscrupulous behavior. Megumin sneered, retorted that there was no such thing as trust with a demon. She swallowed the money without remorse, claiming it was the Axis cult that had corrupted her. Then, after a pause, she said, Honorable One, Yunyun, I plan to leave tomorrow. Huh? So fast, Yunyun exclaimed again. But it didn't seem fast to Megumin at all, it seemed like too long. It had been 6 months. If Mimi hadn't arranged it, I would have been itching to run out of the village and go on an adventure. I don't know what Yunyun was thinking. He told Megumin to wait and ran off, leaving Megumin and Zun Zun alone. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you have something to say? Zun Zun crossed his arms. He knew it was time for Megumin to entrust her sister and her pet to him, and he had even thought of ways to refuse. However, no, I'm going to leave KonoSuba with Yunyun. As for Mimi, although Mimi is still young, she's my sister and more capable of living independently than I am. Of course, if something happens, I've already told her to go find Green Coconut Zay and Sister Trap. Although Zun Zun doted on Mimi as much as he doted on Sister Trap, he seemed to be purposefully ignoring Zun Zun. An expectant look crossed his eyes. I won't see you off. Oh, really? The red glow in Megumin's eyes dimmed. Soon, as if relieved, she said, after meeting the man who taught me explosive magic, I didn't plan on turning back. Now that I'm in the outside world, I plan to become incredibly powerful with my faithful companions, defeat the Demon King, and become the next Demon King. Zun Zun, your wish is to conquer the world, right? Be careful, I'll get there first. I never intended to conquer the world. And with just explosive magic, you can't conquer it. It's enough for me that you don't cause trouble for your companions. What did you say? Megumin rushed over and struggled with him, more agitated than usual, as if someone had poked her in the eye. Soon after, Yunyun returned and handed her a great mage's attire. Megumin was grateful and promised to make Yunyun a member of the Demon King's army when she became the Demon King. However, Yunyun flatly rejected her. After one last deep look at Zun Zun, she returned home with a dejected face. Goodbye, both of you, goodbye, Megumin. Yunyun was on the verge of tears. Why was she so sad? Hadn't she left? Zun Zun watched her thin back gradually fade away. He didn't listen carefully to what Yunyun said and returned home. Sister Taolao prepared a sumptuous dinner. Not knowing what happy things had happened to him today, Zun Zun told her about Devil Urns and Megumin's trip. Sister Taolao said with relief, really? Megumin is finally leaving the village. Now she can help you, right? Help me, yes. Since Zun Zun's wish is to conquer the world, Megumin is very worried about not being able to help. She was quite confused when he said he wanted to learn explosive magic. I told him that if you had explosive magic, he wouldn't lack power or be defenseless against strong enemies. He was very happy to hear that. Sister Taolao continued talking, but Zun Zun didn't listen at all. For a long while. Sister Trampling, I want to be the Demon King. What? But I won't be the Demon King you have now. I want to be the most benevolent, kind, supreme, and powerful Demon King. Zun Zun adopted the same JoJo stance he had used during Fuzzyhead's execution song and shouted, I am Zun Zun, one of the greatest magicians of the Crimson Demons, the strongest of the Crimson Demons who will eventually become the Demon King. You are worthy of being my brother. Your great cause will surely triumph. After all, you have worked so hard for this day and found wonderful companions. Applause followed. His words did not frighten Sister Trampling. She was a fortune teller worthy of the gods, and she had surely looked forward to this day. Perhaps this sumptuous dinner was a farewell for her. Yes, in that case. You don't do good deeds in your daily life, you only know how to stand out. You plant vegetables here and harvest fruit there. I learned magic in Red Devil Village. Today I know who I am. Zun Zun took out his adventurer card, looked at the 80 skill points, and shouted loudly, I can get to where I am now all on my own. With my extraordinary wisdom, my extraordinary talent, and over 10 years of hard training. Shenlin, ahem, adventurer card, add points. He learned advanced magic decisively. Chapter 63. From today on I will be in heaven. Who am I? Where am I? What am I supposed to do? Zun Zun was a little confused, simply because he was so exhausted the night before. Last night, he had learned advanced magic and rushed to his teacher's house, dragged him out of bed, almost asleep, and asked him to prepare for his graduation ceremony. When the teacher found out Zun Zun had learned magic, he was immediately annoyed and said he still had 108 secret techniques to teach him, the entire essence of the Crimson Demon Clan. Then he passed him a copy of My Struggle as if it were a secret manual. The secret techniques of the Crimson Demon Clan, Zun Zun thought, were just an opportunity to promote his own book. The headmaster and teacher, two smugglers, had been filing the school library with their own shoddy books. If it was useful for magical research, it would be fine, but they only knew how to strike poses and say cool one-liners, completely useless to him. The graduation ceremony had also been a rushed formality, but who would have imagined that the teacher, so meticulous about ceremonies and pomp, would insist on bringing him to school for the ceremony, even going so far as to arrange it with great care. It barely ended until morning. Megumin was probably being seen off by Yao Gaohu, Ruan Huhu, Dong Donggu, and the others. Meanwhile, Zun Zun was at the clan leader's house. She hadn't quite grasped what Yunyun had said the day before, and since she was about to leave the village, she had come over to greet him. Unexpectedly, Yunyun shared her thoughts and was also vying for the right to leave the village. Sitting on the sofa, the motorcycle clan elder, Deng, crossed his arms and pondered, but Yunyun, isn't it your dream to become the next leader of the Crimson Demon Clan? What about the gorilla? Father, the Crimson Demon Clan is too small. I want to venture out and broaden my horizons. Only by gaining experience and achieving accomplishments can I be acknowledged by the Crimson Demon Clan. Yunyun suppressed her embarrassment and turned to her father's favorite topic. After all, it was hard for her to reveal that she wanted to leave the village to find Megumin. The clan leader pondered again. What a pain. If he kept wasting time, Megumin would leave. Zun Zun frowned, slammed the table, and shouted, I don't know if you're worried about Yunyun or if you have other plans, but as a father, you have to watch your daughter grow up. Let him go quickly, and you're really pissed off. The Basazoku-like statement made the clan leader's eyes light up. Zun Zun, are you leaving the village too? That's right, what's wrong? I see. That puts me at ease. The clan leader nodded and said, I've always believed you would achieve great things. Why? Because you were born with enough magical power to destroy the world. Ah, there it comes again. He knew it was the typical courtesy of the Crimson Demons, but Zun Zun couldn't stand hearing it all the time. What's wrong with the world? Why destroy it? The clan leader, with the air of a veteran, sighed. Yeah, those eyes of yours have a line in them. Wait, you're calling me a loser? Zun Zun banged the table again. He had tried so hard to learn magic in the Crimson Demon Village, only to be called a pretty boy. What's the difference between that and calling him a loser? Huh? The clan leader was also confused. He had pondered the phrase a lion hides in your eyes for days, until it finally occurred to him. How had it become an insult? Huh? Zun Zun, Yunyun didn't know what her father had said that had enraged Zun Zun. Zun Zun took a deep breath. Sorry, I'm being rude. Yes, that sentence had been a little ambiguous in his previous life, but this was the first time he had heard it in this world. He reacted a little. Ha ha ha, alright, the clan leader laughed heartily. Zun Zun's anger had made him sense the other's surging magical power, proof of his immense strength. He was glad to know that Yunyun wouldn't be in danger with him. I'm relieved that Yunyun is with you. Don't worry, I won't let Yunyun be in danger. That said, Yunyun possessed great combat talent, and coupled with her status as a high-ranking great mage, few in the outside world could harm her. The clan leader nodded again and said, that puts me at ease. After all, you're engaged. By the way, when do you plan to get married? No matter when. Wait, what did you say? Zun Zun said indifferently, eager to leave, but instantly his expression froze. Get married? Yes, to whom? Yunyun, the clan leader replied matter-of-factly. Zun Zun and Yunyun exchanged glances, each with a look of surprise and bewilderment. Yunyun blushed slightly and cried out excitedly, "Father, father, father. What's with this marriage, huh? Why are you reacting so violently?" The clan leader scratched his head in confusion and said, "Don't you know about the engagement?" "No." "And when was that?" Yunyun cried out. "That was when you were 8 years old. It seems like just yesterday, and even now I remember it vividly." "That's right, it was Zun Zun who said, Yunyun is the most important thing to me, I'm taking her away today, and I don't see who dares to stop me. For her, I might even raise the entire Crimson Demon village." "Oh," hearing those words made my blood boil. Zun Zun pursed his lips. Did he say that just to look good and get the clan leader to let him go? "And Yunyun, don't look at me with that emotion, you'll make me misunderstand. And, Yunyun, that night you also said to Zun Zun, I don't have much talent, so please give me more pointers from now on, right? You told me that yourself after you returned, eh?" Yunyun's cheeks instantly flushed red. Young and naive, she thought those words were meant for friendship, but the true meaning was revealed to her by Ruan Hu and Dong Donggu after she started school. Seeing them struggling, the clan leader blinked and asked, "What's wrong? Did I understand wrong?" "Yunyun, don't you have feelings for Zun Zun?" No, that," Yunyun squirmed. Previously, when she was conversing about love with Ruan Hu and Dong Donggu, Yunyun had said that she liked gentle, quiet, and polite men who would listen attentively as she recounted the day's events. Zun Zun fit those traits perfectly. She glanced sideways at Zun Zun, who was sitting beside her. Zun Zun frowned slightly and asked, "Does that mean if I refuse, Yunyun can't leave the village?" "Of course not," the clan leader said, puzzled. This damned violent leader, Zun Zun took a deep breath and said with unprecedented seriousness, "I will protect you, even if it costs me my life." "Yes," the clan leader nodded in satisfaction. Yunyun's cheeks were already red, her head was steaming, and she was about to faint from embarrassment. Finally, the clan leader asked in a deep voice, "Zun Zun, the Red Demon clan doesn't usually leave the village easily unless it's extremely important. Then, can you tell me what you want to do?" "I want to become the Demon King." "Demon King? Demon King?" The clan leader, visibly stunned for a moment, frowned and stared at him, and asked, "Have you fallen, Zun Zun? You're too self-righteous." "Clan leader?" Zun Zun secretly poured hairspray into his palm and said, "From the beginning, no one has been to heaven. You, me, even God. But, the unbearable vacancy of the heavenly throne ends now." He sprayed his hair with hairspray. "From now on, I will be in heaven. I was scolded as Nanlian before the engagement, and I'm still being scolded as Nanlian afterward. Isn't this marriage in vain?" Chapter 64, Changing the Map. After leaving the clan leader's house, Yunyun followed Zun Zun like a young wife. Neither of them spoke, and the atmosphere was a little awkward. No, suddenly hearing about the engagement, not even Zun Zun knew what to say. "I didn't know about the engagement." "What? My parents didn't tell me, not even my sister?" Zun Zun gritted his teeth. He didn't even need to imagine that his parents would try to dissuade him with excuses like "I forgot" or "We wanted to surprise you." After all, his parents were often away from home. "Sorry to put you in a difficult situation." No, not at all. "I like him too," Yunyun stammered. Honestly, he was surprised to learn that she and Zun Zun were engaged, but surprisingly, he wasn't offended. Because he had always been with Zun Zun since she was a child. When she didn't have any friends, it was Zun Zun who accepted her and always tolerated her, chatting, playing, and cultivating with her. He also helped Megumin become friends with her. So, we have no choice but to get married, huh? Zun Zun blinked. Yunyun quickly waved her hands and explained, No. It's because I know her so well, huh? What's wrong with me? Yunyun's voice came from behind. Her body visibly tensed. Zun Zun turned and looked at the trio walking towards them. You know her so well, Ruan Hu and Dong Donggu. You're so slow, Ruan Hu complained. Megumin's already left. What are you wasting your time? Are you leaving? Yunyun was stunned. As expected, she hadn't taken the same bus again. Dong Donggu scratched his cheek and apologized. We tried to convince her to stay, telling her that you and Zun Zun would definitely come, but Megumin said that you told her yesterday that you wouldn't come to see her off, so she left. Yes, she was quite disappointed to leave, Yu Gaohu said, hugging her chest. Zun Zun and Yunyun had intended to leave with her, And they had clearly used the usual Crimson Demon phraseology to remind her, so why didn't she understand now? She no longer became distressed when she missed Zun Zun. It was like missing a train or a plane. Once you miss the train, no amount of anxiety is of any use. Not to mention that teleportation magic consumes a lot of mana. Even Crimson Demons with a lot of mana can only use it twice a day, so if they wanted to leave the Crimson Demon village, they would have to wait for the evening train. Ruan Hu, shaking her two pigtails, said, "Perfect. Let's go get something to eat. I'm starving after waiting here all morning." The three of them knew that Megumin and the others were leaving Crimson Devil Village, so they waited there early. Unexpectedly, after seeing Megumin off, they waited for a long time, but Zun Zun and Yunyun still didn't appear. It was already noon, so she was both thirsty and hungry. Ruan Hu's suggestion was accepted by everyone. The group arrived at the restaurant where Megumin worked part-time. Unfortunately, the classmate who had reluctantly put on a businesslike smile and taken the initiative to greet them was no longer there. They chatted while taking orders. Ruan Hu spoke first. "I knew you'd be leaving together. Megumin even said she wouldn't go with you. How is that possible? After all, Yunyun and Megumin are Zun Zun's wives." This keyword made Yunyun blush. She waved her hands frantically and explained, "No, it's not like that. Zun Zun and we're not. Please don't cause any misunderstandings. It seems you're interested in me." No, let's not start a relationship that shouldn't be happening right now. How about this?" Yugu said, holding the impressive growth of his Crimson Demon. "There's no need to take responsibility. Just let me have a child. The child of the most skilled Crimson Demon in history will surely be the most skilled Great Mage." Hey, yes. The boy was born without a father, and his mother never told him who he was. He practiced diligently every day to grow stronger. One day, he returned from training to find his home destroyed and his mother missing. He heard from the villagers that the Demon King's army had kidnapped his mother, so he used his greatest talents to gather his comrades and, after overcoming numerous obstacles, fought his way to the Demon King's castle. But when he confronted the Demon King, he suddenly discovered that it was his father. "Am I your father?" No. This plot is so classic that she could end up being the father's enemy. Yugu is that capable. As expected of a writer who aspired to become one of the foremost of the Crimson Demons, her imagination far surpassed that of the others. While family dramas like Life Before and After were already saturated, this pristine world held immense potential for development, perhaps even leading to instant fame. Soon, the waiter brought the food, and Ruan Hu and Dong Dong returned with mocking smiles, followed by Yunyun, who looked like she was about to cry. Needless to say, they were completely naked. Ruan Hu walked briskly, beaming, "Congratulations, Zun Zun. I didn't expect Yunyun to be the fastest of us. I thought it would be Yao Gao Hu," smiled Dong Dong. But they didn't joke around too much to Zun Zun's relief. After lunch, the group returned to the entrance of the village. The Yao Gao Hu trio presented their farewell gifts, cloaks. All Crimson Demons loved cloaks, and since they were great mages, wearing one was not unusual. But the long cloak didn't seem to suit Herbin Cherry's aesthetic taste, so she cut it in half to Zun Zun's waist before letting Zun Zun wear it contentedly. Zun Zun's now untied wolf-tailed mullet, coupled with his black trousers and red-rimmed shirt, and the cloak given by the trio, made him look more like a child from a noble family than a great magician. Arriving at the entrance of the village, Zun Zun said, "Thank you for your farewell. When I become the Demon King, you can all be my trusted men, as expected of a family." You all promised the same. Ruan Hu took a deep breath and suddenly cried, "I don't want to be a trusted man of the Demon King's army. That doesn't sound good at all, but the Demon King? Summoning companions to defeat him and then become the new Demon King? I'm looking forward to this moment." Dong Donggu was daydreaming. Zun Zun said, "This is a great opportunity. Remember something, Dong Donggu. Admiration is the furthest feeling from understanding." "Great, how great, X2. Soft, and Dong Donggu's eyes lit up, and Yu Guwei also expressed his wish to include this quote in his book. Teleportation trial Risha is about to begin. Only 4 people are allowed at a time. Today is the last day. Those who need to be transported, please hurry." Hearing this, Zun Zun smiled and said, "The outcome is uncertain. You and I are the 2 dark horses. We'll see each other at the summit. Goodbye, Yu Guwei." "Soft, and Dong Donggu, I'll write to you, Ghana, Yunyun, Zun Zun, The trio also smiled confidently. After handing the teleporter the full amount of Eris, they both accepted the teleportation magic and disappeared into the Crimson Devil Land in a flash of light. Chapter 65. Frowning, he quietly retreated behind the crowd. As the light faded, a bustling scene appeared before their eyes. The streets were filled with people and traffic, a steady stream of pedestrians, and the cries of vendors echoed on both sides of the street. All around them stood uniquely designed buildings, the blue and white color scheme blending harmoniously, unconsciously relaxing the tension. Uh-oh, is this Alkanrisha, the city of water? Zun Zun's eyes lit up. This is what a big city looks like. It's not that Red Devil Village is bad, but it's only natural to be surprised upon suddenly arriving in a more developed metropolis. After living in the countryside for over a decade, Yunyun subconsciously approached Zun Zun. She felt a little uncomfortable around the crowds. After exiting the teleportation array, the two strolled through the streets. They were like Liao entering the Grand View Garden, curious about everything. The vendors around them diligently promoted their wares to passers-by. Guests. Hot spring buns. Delicious hot spring buns. Don't you fancy some? Agar slime. Hello, everyone. This drink turns into jelly when you add hot water and let it cool. It's delicious. The grape flavor is on sale, so hurry up and buy some. Skewers. Come try some delicious skewers, Zun Zun and you. You were leisurely sightseeing. It's like an RPG, when you arrive in a new area, you can't help but explore. Besides, the Aqua's cult isn't as widespread or difficult to control as you'd imagine this time of year. If you miss it, you won't get another chance. Zun Zun, there are so many people out there. What's going on? I don't know, let's go take a look. The two of you made your way through the crowd. It's only natural to enjoy the crowd, how could you not join in the fun? But Zun Zun regretted his decision as he got closer. Among the crowd were 3 members of the Aqua's cult, displaying their impressive talents. The spectacle was beautiful, truly spectacular, as could be seen from the audience's applause. However, seeing the crowd gathering, the members of the Axis cult began to shout, trying to recruit people. Everyone, want to join the Axis cult? Join us. Joining the Axis cult has all sorts of benefits, like becoming talented like us and being highly regarded by the undead monsters. You can even marry your best friend. Zun Zun frowned, silently dragging Yunyun behind the crowd. Becoming talented is acceptable, but being highly regarded by the undead monsters is a bit of a stretch. And what's the point of marrying your best friend? Are you even a legitimate church? What? The Axis cult? It's okay. Zun Zun, what's wrong? Nothing, just a little hungry. Let's go get something to eat. Zun Zun had no intention of getting involved with the mentally ill Axis cult members. Upon returning to the snack street, the two of them, after buying skewers, sat down on a park bench to rest. Yunyun seemed a little distracted. Yunyun, are you worried about Megumin? Huh? No, I'm not really. Well, I'm just worried that Megumin might be in danger. What if she accidentally runs into someone bad? Are you an old woman from somewhere? She arrived only half a day before us. Zun Zun felt a little complicated knowing that his fiancée, who was dating him, was infatuated with someone else, and a girl at that. Don't worry, we'll find her soon. Really? Well, go to the Adventurers Guild. Every town has an Adventurers Guild, and adventurers must register upon arrival. It's not a matter of activating a card, but rather registering as if they had traveled abroad in a previous life. Only by registering can they be recognized by the guild and accept the quests posted there. Upon arriving at the Adventurers Guild, the two were warmly greeted by the receptionist with ample pectoral muscles. Their request to register as adventurers was also denied. It was because Zun Zun and Yunyun's levels were too low, one at level 8, the other at level 10. Unlike Axel's Novus village, the monsters surrounding Alkanrisha are powerful, so adventurers entering the area have a higher level requirement for quests. Although Zun Zun and Yunyun are crimson demons and both grand mages who have mastered advanced magic, they are still unable to enter. However, they received good news. Megumin, a red-eyed, black-haired girl with a staff, cape, and mage hat, had registered as an adventurer that morning, but like Zun Zun and the others, she was rejected due to her low level. As she left the guild, Yunyun was pleased to learn of Megumin's whereabouts, but also disappointed that she hadn't found her. Just as Zun Zun suggested strolling around town and perhaps meeting up with Megumin, Yunyun unexpectedly said, "Let's go to town security first." Uh-oh. Okay, before they left, Sister Trap handed them a letter about an impending crisis in Alcanrisha, hoping they could deliver it to the town's security team so they would be prepared. Zun Zun knew the contents of the letter and knew it would lead to misunderstandings, but he still decided to deliver it to the security team. There was no other reason. As long as it was a request to catch his sister, even if it meant conquering the world, he would do it. Upon arriving at the security team, they both asked to see the captain, but were turned away, claiming that not just anyone could see him. But once Zun Zun introduced himself as the son of a fortune teller, he was greeted enthusiastically. Zun Zun still liked his previous rebelliousness. Besides, while his parents' constant absence might seem like a nuisance, their reputation as fortune tellers was quite useful. After explaining their purpose, the eldest sister of the security team immediately expressed her commitment to the matter. This was a prophecy to set a trap for her sister, a prediction comparable to that of a divine-level fortune teller. They had to take it seriously, not to mention that it involved minions from the Demon King's army. After the security team ate and drank their fill, daylight gradually faded. Finding Megumin that day was impossible, so they decided to find a hotel to rest and resume their search the next day. But just as they were walking down the street, a distant voice declared, "Ha ha ha, you never thought this is my escape route," the soprano exclaimed, as if she had suddenly found a delicious piece of bread at the limit. In fact, the woman in priestly attire was holding a large amount of soft bread in her arms. Behind her were two furious men. "Stop right there. Don't run, damn it. Hurry up and return the bread we bought together for the poor man." They panted and chased after the girl in front, but she was running too fast, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't catch up. Just as she accelerated around the corner, ready to shake off the two men following her, she collided with someone in front. "It hurts," she screamed in pain, her buttocks fell to the ground. And the bread in the bag scattered everywhere. My bread." She hurriedly picked up the dirty bread, muttering something like, "It'll be fine in 3 seconds, as she glared fiercely at the man in front of her. "Bastard, sorry, I wasn't paying attention." "Are you okay?" A soft voice sounded as a hand was extended towards her. She was completely speechless, because the person in front of her was an incredibly handsome young man. Woman? Although she was wearing boys' clothes, she was so beautiful that she didn't notice. But somehow, this person made her heart flutter. Chapter 66. Why did that handsome boy with a magic sword run away? Cecily looked at the note left in the room, feeling disheartened. She thought she could get free food and drinks from a rich man. The note said that he would use the power granted by the goddess to save the world. I really hope he can save his own life before saving the world. What do I do now? Do I use the donation box to swindle the children or to make money? Cecily rubbed his ample page like a man. No, if I do that, I'll definitely ruin the cult's image. In this case, it's the only way. An evil smile appeared at the corner of her lips. In front of the heiress church. When Cecily arrived, the faces of the heiress church members who saw her suddenly changed. "Hey, it's Cecily. Cecily has appeared. The priestess of Accusis has returned. Children, run. Don't let her get you into trouble. Quick, go back to the church. Quick." The two men spoke rudely, urging the children away from them. They treated her terribly. Cecily shuddered, tears in her eyes, her voice trembling. How can this be? We may be from different churches, but we're both priests. I thought we could understand each other. I thought so, woo woo woo." The beautiful girl's sobs were heart-wrenching. Woo woo woo, Cecily, are you serious? You're pretending, aren't you? You've tricked us like this before. The two men were a little reluctant, their guard down. But Cecily, seizing the opportunity, snatched a large bag filled with the soft, fragrant bread they were distributing from their arms and left. "Tonight's dinner, it's ready." Perhaps having obtained another meal, Cecily shouted in a frantic and triumphant voice, "Ha ha ha, you never thought this would be my escape route. Stop right there. Don't run, you're joking. Damn it. Hurry up and return the bread we bought together for the poor thing." Poor thing? Wasn't she the poor thing? After being chased away by the handsome swordsman, and even being bullied and deprived of dinner, she was the truly pitiful one. Especially in love, she was even more deprived. Cecily recklessly quickened her pace. Well, as she turned the corner, she would leave them behind. PFFT. Too focused on the two heiress cultists chasing after her, she didn't see the person emerging from around the corner. She accidentally bumped into them and fell to the ground, spilling the bread in her hands. My bread. Cecily's heart ached. But she soon realized this was a good opportunity. A chance to blackmail someone. I knocked someone down and the bread fell to the ground. She should definitely compensate me, no matter what. It doesn't have to be much, 100,000 heiress will do. What? You said I wasn't looking where I was going? I don't know what the cult of Accusis is best at, shifting the blame onto someone. At the thought, Cecily pursed her lips and then instantly lowered them. She stared at the person in front of her and said, I'm sorry. A gentle voice reached her ears, and a hand was extended in front of her. I wasn't paying attention. Are you okay? Cecily had already planned her blackmail, but when she saw the man in front of her, his stunning beauty, the sun shining behind him, his face with a warm smile like the sunset, and his scent so intoxicating, like that of a true god descending. Aqua-sama, I feel like I'm in love. Is this the reward for all my prayers for Aqua-sama? Thank you, goddess, for this gift. Cecily instinctively grabbed the offered hand and pushed herself up from the ground, but before she could say anything, the angry shouts of the heiress cult members echoed in the distance. Don't run. You damned wretch, how dare you lie to us? How dare you? Don't let us catch you. Otherwise, you're in for a real fight. Cecily shuddered, instinctively cowering behind Zun Zun, her small hands gripping the hem of his cloak. Zun Zun raised an eyebrow. This couldn't be Megumin's trick to draw people in. She had only been in the city for a short time, and judging by the frightened look on the blonde woman's face behind her, it didn't seem like she was putting on an act. Two breathless men approached from ahead. Without giving them a chance to speak, Zun Zun lent Cecily a hand and said, I don't know what's wrong, but I can't just stand idly by and watch you chase after a girl like that. Embarrassment prevented her from revealing her name. Even so, Cecily was excited. So handsome. I obviously like handsome men, but what's wrong? Why is this guy so handsome in every move? He's my type. This is bad. I'm so happy. If this keeps up, I might hug him. No, I was arrested by the police last week. If I get carried away again, it will be very bad. Cecily was being comforted by another girl, Yunyun, while secretly wiping away her tears and pretending to be a victim, watching them from a distance. Hey, I don't know who you are, but you've completely misunderstood me. That's right, that's right. It's this woman, Cecily, who stole the bread we were distributing to the poor, the two men shouted at her. Cecily sneered. Idiots, who understands what they were saying? These two are obviously outsiders. They don't even know who Cecily is, so how could they believe their lies? To them, they're just evil people who persecuted beautiful, defenseless girls. Let justice be done, damn heiress cultists. They've used this tactic many times, and it never fails, but, for some reason, the beautiful boy in front of her suddenly stopped. He slowly turned his head and looked at her, his eyes both familiar and strange. The two heiress cultists were still reflecting on their evil deeds. Cecily came to our church and painted Heiress-sama's portrait, and she always comes to the church to bully children. She even broke the church windows with a rock. Just now, she took all the bread we distribute to the needy every day. Hey, why are you saying such nonsense? This isn't right. This isn't right. The more the two heiress cult members talked, the stranger the eyes of the handsome black-haired, red-eyed boy looked at her. Cecily remembered that this was the look she gave to scoundrels. No, no. I'm not Zesta-sama, so don't look at me like that, but how handsome. Even if I dislike you, I'm still handsome. Despite what Cecily thought, as soon as Zun Zun heard that the name of the older sister he was blocking was Cecily, he knew all the mistakes were his own. This Cecily was shit. Cecily, the heiress cult is always slandering me. Zun Zun, how? Cecily, she told me everything I did. Hehe. What can I say? Zun Zun grabbed Yunyun's wrist and quickly stepped aside, revealing Cecily behind him. She reached out toward the two heiress cultists and said, Sir, this way. Uh-oh, the two heiress cultists stared at each other, not understanding what was happening. Damn the heiress cult. Seeing the hopeless situation, Cecily grabbed 2 bags of bread from the ground and ran out. Shouting to the sky, I'll definitely come back, Aqua-sama, thank you for giving me this beautiful and invincible boy. I'll never give up. Chapter 67 Family, who knows, I met a humble woman. I had planned to roam the world with my sword, but I never imagined I'd encounter such idiots on the outskirts of town. Watching the 3 figures flee, I could only sigh for their lost youth. I hoped they would understand and tolerate one another. As for Zun Zun, I left him alone. This matter had delayed me quite a while, and it was already late at night. Although I longed to experience the town's nightlife again, I urgently needed a hotel, or I'd have to sleep outdoors. They arrived at the largest hot spring hotel in town. Alcanrisha was famous for its hot springs. It would be a waste of time to come here and not experience its supposed healing properties. Sorry, but we don't have any rooms. Would you like to share a room, or perhaps a suite? The owner apologized. Zun Zun suspected he had asked this on purpose because of some misunderstanding, but judging by his embarrassed and apologetic expression, it seemed there really weren't enough rooms. A suite, please, please. They were still nominally engaged, and sharing a bed with a shy Yunyun was over the top. So Zun Zun didn't bother asking again and opted for a superior suite. The hot spring owner said the suite was fantastic. Besides 2 rooms, it also had its own private hot spring, designed specifically for families visiting Water City. And to apologize for not having a room, he decided to charge the standard rate, since it was empty. The owner was a master of business. After receiving the key and heading to the room, Yunyun looked a little worried. Zun Zun said, "Don't worry. Although I love you, I wouldn't do anything without your permission, even if we were engaged." "No, I didn't mean it." "So, Yunyun, you say it's fine, huh?" "That's a little." Yunyun hesitated, lowering her head. Zun Zun guaranteed her that if she knelt down and begged Yunyun right now, he would definitely be able to do this or that night. After all, Yunyun couldn't refuse anyone. Guessing what she was worried about, Zun Zun sighed softly. "Are you worried about Cecily?" I don't think they'll catch that big sister. In fact, I hope they catch her." At Yunyun's bewildered look, Zun Zun spoke. "You should have heard what those 2 Eris cult members said. Cecily was the one who did the wrong thing, so there's no need to worry about her." But, Yunyun, you're like this, always brimming with compassion. Listen, Cecily is a landmine, a hopeless scum, not to mention a member of the Accusis cult. Once you get involved with someone like that, you're like candy. In fact, I wouldn't be too surprised if Cecily was in our room right now." Zun Zun opened the Japanese-style door as he spoke, and saw the beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed older sister kneeling in the room, her head bowed. Welcome." Zun Zun took a deep breath and slowly opened the door. "I closed it." Yunyun asked curiously, "What's wrong? Is there anything in the room?" "Yes, there's trash." Zun Zun's expression was serious. "Wait? Calling someone trash is too much?" Cecily rushed over and tried to open the door, but Zun Zun slammed it shut to prevent her. The 2 of them started arguing. "Don't be ridiculous. You're trash. And it's fireproof." "Fireproof? I don't know what you're talking about, but I feel offended." Open it quickly, open it quickly." Cecily kept knocking on the door. Zun Zun, his face red, was struggling to close it, as if he were guarding the gates of hell, determined not to let those unspeakable things out. Damn it, how can this guy be so strong? Is he really the high priestess? But as the knocking grew louder and louder, many guests came out of the room. What's going on? Why is it so noisy? What happened? Hey, what's going on in there? Did a thief break in? Before long, the cleaning staff came over and whispered apologetically, "Sir, could you please keep your voice down? You're disturbing the other guests." "You up?" "I'm so sorry." Zun Zun pursed his lips. Cecily, the mastermind behind the commotion, seemed to notice the large crowd gathered outside. Then, she suddenly burst into tears. "I was wrong. Please don't abandon me. I understand. From now on, even if you have a mistress, I won't stop you. I'm fine with you having an affair. If that doesn't work, I can even help keep you safe while you're having one. So, please don't abandon me." I won't. "Don't talk nonsense." Zun Zun couldn't help but cry out, but Cecily's words were too powerful, and her acting was so good. Her pitiful and tragic tone was so touching that it moved anyone who heard it to tears. He even heard someone accusing him. What? Having an affair and still spreading rumors? How enviable. No, disgusting. He actually has a mistress. How shameless. Is that the mistress? The girl by his side, misunderstood. Yunyun was on the verge of tears. She never imagined that she would become Zun Zun's hated lover in the blink of an eye. With tears in her eyes, she could only stare at Zun Zun helplessly. I understand. Zun Zun pushed open the door. It was a remarkably elegant suite, both in terms of decor and view. This room, suffused with a Japanese atmosphere, was undoubtedly the work of the time travelers who had come before her. Inside, There were a man and two women. Zun Zun and Yunyun sat on one side of the round table, while on the other side stood Cecily, a gentle smile on her face. She was truly stunning when she was silent. Tall and blonde, with even broader pates than Yunyun's, her usual priestly attire stretched dramatically. However, despite her beauty, she was not at all seductive. Instead, she radiated tranquility and holiness. Just to show off. The three of them sipped their tea. Cecily coughed lightly and said with a smile, "Why don't you join the Aqua's cult? If you do, you'll easily learn the talent you just introduced." "I don't want to." Zun Zun rolled his eyes. He had witnessed the versatility of the Aqua's cult members, yet they used this unique method. Looking at Cecily, who was feeling quite at home, Zun Zun couldn't help but ask, "Aren't you being chased by two Eris cult members? How did you end up here? And how did you get in? HMPH, how could a mere Eris cult member catch me?" He cupped his hands over his chest triumphantly and said, "As for why I'm here, don't you know that the largest hot spring hotel in Alkenrisha is owned by a member of the Aqua's cult?" He really didn't know. But the hot spring owner didn't seem as eccentric as a member of the Aqua's cult. Could he be in disguise as well? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Zun Zun tilted his head slightly, looking at Cecily, and said, "Then what are you chasing me for? To fuck you? Ahem. I was wondering, young man, would you like to join the Aqua's cult?" Cecily took out a request from her chest. Zun Zun, oblivious to the inconsistency of her words, was captivated by the request before him, a look of disdain on his face. "I don't want to." "Don't say that." Cecily, with a vixen-like gaze, tempted him. "Joining the Aqua's cult has many benefits, such as becoming versatile and getting edible soap. Or you can soak in hot springs whenever you want, and now you can even soak in the fountain." "Soak in the fountain?" "That's right, the healing properties are 10 times stronger than normal hot springs. Just soaking in them will make you feel refreshed and even more handsome." "But I refuse." "What I like most is saying no to pretentious people." Zun Zun revealed his sculpted face. After a gentle joke, he began to shoo her away. "Listen, I won't join the cult of Aquas. And I'm a crimson demon, and crimson demons will never join any church. If you understand, get out of here. You're an eyesore." He struck the pose of a crimson demon. Cecily's eyes lit up. So handsome. What's wrong? Every move he makes is stepping on my XP. I really want to hug him right now. Chapter 68 This is fucking. Chapter 68, This is fucking. My family, who understands? I've met a bitch. After making it clear that he wouldn't join the Aqua's cult, Zun Zun kicked Cecily out of the room, refusing to open the door no matter how much she knocked. A waiter quickly escorted her out. Although she was a priestess of the Aqua's cult, interfering in hotel affairs was unforgivable. Zun Zun saw this and ignored her. And now he was soaking in the hot springs. Exhausted from a day's rush and an unnecessary argument with Cecily, he was sweating profusely and desperately needed to cleanse himself. He had invited Yunyun to join him, but his shy fiancée wouldn't. Of course, Zun Zun politely waited for Yunyun to finish before heading alone to the small hot springs behind the suite. What bliss, the hot springs in Alkenrisha lived up to their reputation. Soaking in there was like a complete meltdown, and the scenery was breathtaking. Stars dotted the night sky, and room lights illuminated the courtyard, creating a truly picturesque scene. I wished I could spend some time here peacefully. Zun Zun lay on the edge of the hot spring pool, a contented smile on his face. Just then, a figure appeared behind him, whispering, "Sir, would you like room service?" "No." "Well, I'm sorry." "Wait, I already said no." Zun Zun turned around abruptly. It was Cecily, with her long golden hair tied up, revealing her slender neck, her beautiful and delicate shoulders, and her long limbs. She was wrapped only in a bath towel, with one foot in the pool, and her hands were holding a tray, but that didn't hide her ample pectoral muscles. The light on her skin was dazzling. On the tray were two bowl-shaped jelly objects. Zun Zun had seen them on the snack street. They must be the agar slime jelly. They were adorned with two pink cherries. "Excuse me, looking at me like that," Cecily said with feigned shyness, then slowly stepped into the hot spring pool. Zun Zun backed away disdainfully, putting distance between them. "Big sister brought you the most delicious agar slime. What do you think? Good for you, right?" She put down the wooden tray. The tray, light to begin with, floated in the water. If it weren't for the wine glass, Zun Zun wouldn't have suspected her of being the guest visiting the room. Luckily, there was no wine glass, or he would have thrown it over in a huff. You're really picky, sticky. It means sticky. Hey, big sister, what I'm best at is not giving up, not quitting, not abandoning. That's my greatest strength. Was she that proud of herself? Zun Zun crossed his arms and said, no matter how much I tell you, I won't join the Accuses cult, so please come back, hurry up. Am I the type to cling to you? Yeah, what's wrong? Hey, even Cecily, known for her unmatched mental strength, was almost overwhelmed by the boy she liked. But, as she had just said, her greatest strength lay in her refusal to give up. Don't be so defensive. I'm a room attendant now, huh? What do you mean? I've spoken with the owner of the Hot Spring Hotel and agreed to work as a room attendant for 1 day for free. I'm serving you right now, big sister. Look, this cherry-flavored agar-agar slime is prepared especially for you. Cecily swam toward him, pushing a wooden tray. Zun Zun quickly dodged, but the more he resisted, the more excited Cecily became. Like an nymphomaniac, she pounced on Zun Zun, her ample page and long, slender legs brushing against his soft skin. Come on, let me feel you. Enough. Zun Zun forced Cecily onto her back, pressing her against the edge of the hot spring pool. Her torso rested on the cobblestones, her torso submerged in the water, her hands held by Zun Zun. The distance between them was very short. From the peak of her chest, it was only 3 centimeters, any lower it would have touched. Perhaps because of the sudden movement, the towel wrapped around her loosened. Wait. This is something. I hate it. Cecily turned her head shyly and said, you like taking the initiative? Okay, come on, kiss me. Then she threw her head back and pouted, as if asking for a kiss. But Zun Zun looked displeased. Bah, he spat to the side. Come to think of it, Cecily is a landmine, and she's an incorrigible scoundrel. Not even a pretty girl, so pretty that even he had to admit it, would interest him. Is it even possible that he has feelings for a fool? Someone get rid of anyone who throws herself at Aqua. Letting go of her hands, ignoring Cecily's screams, Zun Zun wrapped himself in a towel and ran out of the hot spring. Returning to his room, he locked the door and covered his head with a quilt, pretending he hadn't heard anything. It was a suite with 2 bedrooms and a living room. Although there was no quilt, it was enough for 1 night's sleep, so there was nothing to worry about. Master Zun, after a long day of hard work, slowly fell asleep. However, the moonlight that night was too bright. Zun Zun, awakened by the moonlight shining on his face, opened his eyes blearily. He saw a woman, disheveled and ghost-like, creeping in through the window, her voice hoarse. No. I won't give up. Zun Zun covered his face with his hands, pretending to scream. He had to admit that, at that moment, his heart skipped a beat. It was a feeling he had long lost, one he had only experienced since he was born. Besides, that room was truly unsuitable. The Death Seeker crawled in through the window like a monster, stomping on the wooden planks before suddenly pouncing forward and grabbing Zun Zun. Hey, I won't give up. Let go of me. Let go of me. Are you Cecily? You're Cecily. Zun Zun pushed the insistent woman away. Although her hair was disheveled, the moonlight still revealed the blonde Cecily who had barged into the room. Bastard. Zun Zun pulled Cecily towards him with one hand, about to kiss her cheek, while with the other, he squeezed the hand that was groping him. He tried to break free, but Cecily clung to him like sticky candy. Damn it. Is she really a high priestess? Although her profession is that of a grand mage, her power isn't as strong as a sword master, but with a divine body, there's no way she can't match up to Cecily, a priestess. Something's definitely wrong with her. The two of them struggled for a while in the room, but finally, Zun Zun, relying on his superior strength, caught Cecily with a quilt, tying her up tightly with a rope. Hey, do you like this? Big sis, it's not impossible. PFFT, Zun Zun snapped, and left the room without looking back. He arrived at another room in the suite and knocked on the door. Soon, Yunyun's nervous and terrified voice resounded from inside. Who is it? It's me, Zun Zun. What's wrong? Yunyun asked in puzzlement, opening the door. Zun Zun squatted down decisively, her head lowered and her hands clasped, and begged, please let me sleep with you tonight, eh? She seemed to have misunderstood something. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Lord Zesta Can Do Anything. After escaping Cecily's entanglement, Zun Zun and Yunyun slept in the same room. They didn't do anything strange. Rather, it was because there was a thirsty priestess in the next room. What if she took advantage of the good mood and joined in? The next day, Zun Zun and his friends enjoyed the real sweet service, that is, breakfast. The breakfast was quite generous, with milk, fried eggs, and sausages. Perhaps considering Cecily as his companion, the waiter prepared 3 servings. Cecily sat down at the table perfectly naturally, even with a bowl of agar slime in front of her. How much do you like this? 3 times a day, Cecily blinked, as if an idea had occurred to her. She scooped out a piece of jelly-like agar slime with a small wooden spoon she had bitten and offered it to Zun Zun. Come on, no, come on. It's delicious, the transparent, gelatinous object bobbed before him, and his gaze shifted to the thick pectoral muscles bulging from the priest's robes. The events of the previous night were still fresh in his memory. Speaking of which, Zun Zun had never tasted agar slime, and he wasn't sure how its texture differed from the jelly he had eaten in his previous life. So he took the leftover portion and poured it into his mouth in one gulp. Ah! My dessert, Cecily exclaimed excitedly, as Zun Zun chewed it triumphantly, a way of avenging her harassment of the previous night. The taste was ordinary, but seeing Cecily's anxiety made him think it was delicious. No. Eat slowly, or I won't be able to swallow it. What? Are you trying to teach me how to do things? Zun Zun swallowed his favorite dessert whole, muttering incoherently. However, this only caused him to choke on the jelly-like slime, breathing heavily and his face turning red. See, I told you to eat slowly, Zun Zun. Cecily and Yunyun patted him on the back, finally spitting out the jelly in his throat. Cecily, her face reddening, tried to pick it up and eat it, but Zun Zun quickly destroyed it. This guy was terrifying in every way. Zun Zun didn't expect to be led by the nose. He was a very intelligent crimson demon, but meeting this guy seemed to have lowered his intelligence to her level, only to then use their vast experience to defeat him. After breakfast, the 3 of them left the hotel. Upon reaching the street, Zun Zun warned them, listen carefully. You're a member of the Aqua's cult, so we can recruit people to follow you. So don't do anything strange, or I'll leave you immediately. I know. I'll hold you. Cecily hugged Zun Zun's arm with an nymphomaniac-like smile. Didn't I tell you not to do anything strange? Zun Zun pushed at her face. In Alkenrisha, the aquatic city teeming with Axis cult members, Cecily's presence not only allowed her to ask the other Axis cult members for help in finding Megumin, but also prevented them from bothering her. The 3 of them walked through the bustling streets. That's right. In order to help more poor people, I have no choice but to go on blind dates. How could Miss Cecily go so far? For some unknown reason, Cecily stopped holding on to Zun Zun and instead focused on Yunyun. Perhaps she felt that Yunyun, with her strong empathy, would be easier to win over. Then what are you thinking about? Cecily walked up to Zun Zun, her emerald eyes filled with anticipation. Zun Zun asked, what? It could be a greasy middle-aged nobleman. Do you think it's okay for my beautiful youthful body to be stained by his greasy hands? My cherry mouth might even stretch into an O shape. Cecily pouted, like a breathing fish. She was always prone to shocking comparisons. Does anyone really want someone like you? You're so heartless. After all, I'm a renowned high priestess of the Axis cult, a broken priestess. Huh? Zun Zun grumbled. Suddenly, a piercing scream rang out from the distant river. My daughter. Is there anyone? Please. My daughter has fallen into the water. It was a woman, dressed rather casually. In front of her, in the river that runs through Alkenrisha, lay a struggling little girl. Someone in trouble? Zun Zun froze for a second. Just as he was about to rush to the rescue, Cecily, beside him, jumped ahead and dove into the river with a splash. This thing. Although Cecily was deeply hostile to the heiress cult and wasn't a very good person, she was a very enterprising person when things got difficult. Zun Zun believed she could rescue the girl, but she didn't expect Cecily to know how to swim. Help. Someone come. Why are you trying so hard to be brave if you can't swim? Zun Zun went out into the water and rescued Cecily and the girl. Thanks to his mastery of magic power, he could easily walk on the surface. Woof, woof, woof. Thank you. Thank you. Cecily, drenched in water, desperately climbed up Zun Zun's trouser legs. Let go of me, let go of me. Don't put your hands down on my pants, don't touch me. Didn't I tell you not to? Due to the excessive interference, Zun Zun's magic power went out of control. He took a wrong step, and the three of them fell back into the water. In the end, it was Yunyun who froze the surface of the river and pulled both of them and the little girl out of the water, earning her mother's tearful thanks. Ugh, ugh. This is disgusting. Every hole in it is soaked. Whose fault do you think it is? And would you stop being so forward, drenched? Cecily and Zun Zun sat on a bench by the roadside, their arms outstretched to greet the sun. When their skin was almost completely tanned, they turned around in unison. They looked like salted fish waiting to be dried. The midday sun was blinding. Zun Zun covered his forehead with his hand and turned to look at the priestess beside him. Her long golden hair reflected a dazzling light. He seemed to see a spark of brilliance in her. Cecily, why did you? I saw it. I didn't expect someone to risk their life to save someone. You must have a noble soul. You're an Aqua's cultist by nature. Before he could finish, he saw out of the corner of his eye someone glide toward him. The outstretched hands were aimed at Zun Zun's right leg. Zun Zun instinctively raised his right leg, waiting for the man to approach, and stepped on his face. Surprisingly, this person seemed quite cheerful. I thought Cecily was invincible, but I didn't expect someone to be even more formidable. Who is this general? Zun Zun lowered his head, looking at the gray-haired old man in the Axis cult priest uniform. Cecily blinked. Lord Zesta. Oh, so it was Lord Zesta who could do it all. Chapter 70 Megumin, you only think about yourself. Armed with the equipment her friends had given her and driven by her sister's expectations, Megumin arrived in Alcanrisha, full of energy and determined to become the strongest mage. But then she ran into the barrier of prejudice. Her attempt to register as an adventurer was rejected, and her part-time job was treated like a child. She had changed jobs 3 times in just a day and a half, forced to sleep in a ramshackle tavern stable. She hadn't eaten since the day before. Luckily, she met the smiling archpriest of the Axis cult. Thanks to his skewers, she hadn't starved to death, and she decided to help them innovate their recruitment methods. However, whether it was faking a fall or feigning harassment, these methods failed to recruit members and instead earned her a reprimand from the town police. She was exhausted and wanted to retreat. No, the adventure had just begun. How could she back out? Megumin perked up, addressing the priests who were listening to her instructions like students. Look, I'll only act once, and this will be crucial, my child. Is anyone here? Please. My child fell into the water. An anxious voice interrupted her speech, and before Megumin could react, a woman in priestly robes jumped in to save the child. That should have been enough, she thought. However, the woman who had gone ahead didn't know how to swim, and after jumping in, she also shouted for help. Why are you trying so hard if you can't swim? Megumin couldn't help but complain. Just as she was about to do something, she saw a familiar figure in a magician's cloak wade into the water, attempting to rescue her and the child. As she did, the woman touched the person she knew, exploring areas she had never explored before. I clearly came first, she muttered, her eyes reddening. Then, Zun Zun made a misstep, and with 3 people drowning, Yunyun had to freeze the river and rescue them. Were they perhaps there to mock her? Megumin observed the 2 young women sunbathing on a bench and asked Zesta beside her, isn't that the priestly robe of the Axis cult? Is she also a member of the church? Her name is Cecily, and she's an exceptional person, she said meaningfully. Let's stop talking about it for now. Zesta adjusted her clothes and ran out. I saw it. I didn't expect someone to risk their life to save others. You must have a noble soul. You're a born member of the Axis cult? Zun Zun stepped on Zesta's face as he slithered over from afar, only to notice a flush of joy on his face and his inexplicably labored breathing. He quickly withdrew his foot in disgust. She couldn't let this pervert get away with this. Master Zesta. Before Zun Zun could ask, Cecily beside him revealed a visitor's identity. Ahem. Zesta slowly stood up from the ground, straightening her disheveled clothes. She took out a scroll and smiled at Zun Zun and Yunyun. I saw everything that just happened. I'm truly moved by your unwavering willingness to help the poor at a time like this. As a reward, I'll give you this application to join the Church of Aquas. I don't want it. Unable to recruit followers, she used a favorable-sounding tone to deceive them. She had a plan. No, Master Zesta, Cecily said, standing in front of Zun Zun. I first set my sights on this little girl. Even if I were Master Zesta, I wouldn't give her to you, really? What a pity. Then I'll have to choose this little girl. Zesta switched targets. Let me introduce you, Cecily said, as if she'd just remembered. This is Master Zesta, the highest-ranking official of the Axis cult. What did so mean? Did you have any idea about this position? Zun Zun sensed that Cecily had bad intentions. Even so, Zesta remained cheerful. Yunyun also introduced herself politely. I'm Yunyun. Nice to meet you. Please give me your advice. I'm a young lady who seems to be having a hard time. Having a hard time? I don't have many friends, but I don't want to be called that by some old man I just met. Could it be that Zesta also had the ability to read the future or faces? Honestly, Yunyun was having a hard time. I'm Zun Zun. What a nice name. I mean, do you want to join the Axis cult? Zesta grabbed Zun Zun's hand. Let go of me, let go of me. The words child and priest, father, were appropriate separately, but together, they were deeply problematic. It took a great deal of effort for Zun Zun to free himself from their red hands. He couldn't fathom how the members of the Axis cult could possess such immense strength. Were they really all priests? Zesta examined them carefully and, after a pause, asked, You two, could you be from the Crimson Demon Clan? Lord Zesta, do you know the Crimson Demon Clan? Ha. I was actually with a little girl from the Crimson Demon Clan. I thought I might know her, eh? Could it be? Yunyun was slightly surprised to see the little Crimson Demon approaching from around the corner. Megumin, Yunyun and Zun Zun, you two are also in this village. Megumin slowly approached. After a brief chat, Yunyun and Zun Zun learned that Megumin was helping the Axis cult recruit members. Megumin. You're doing this kind of thing, but talking about the Axis cult? Yunyun backed away a little in fear. Before coming to Alkenrisha, she had only heard that the Axis cult was eccentric, but after meeting Cecily yesterday, she realized that its members were even more outrageous than the rumors suggested. I have no choice. I need to raise the money for transportation, so I'm staying in the city to help out for now, Megumin said. Zesta smiled. Yes, Miss Megumin has taught us some excellent recruitment methods, helping recruit members. Zun Zun looked at Megumin and said, How can you be so confident saying that? You're just an ordinary Crimson Demon. Can you shoulder the future of the church? Recruiting members, it's a very heavy thing to do. Don't take it lightly if you can't do it. Megumin, you really only think about yourself. Megumin lowered her head guiltily. She must have been well aware of the extreme nature of her teaching methods, as she hadn't recruited any members yet. Megumin said aggrievedly, I have no choice. I have no money and I'm being humiliated like a child while I'm working. I can only resort to this desperate measure. Or rather, why are you following me now? It's your fault, Zun Zun. Why didn't you come with me? I was starving in the stable, while you and Yunyun must be staying at the best hot spring hotel. Well, Zun Zun felt guilty. Wait, Megumin was clearly trying to flirt with a rich man and get free food and drinks, so how could it be my fault? At that moment, Zesta said, Everyone, from my experience, it's about time someone saw this and reported it to the police. Before the security team arrives, let's go back to the church and reminisce, okay, she said with a gentle smile. Chapter 71 The time has come, let's start the war today. It was the morning Megumin was about to leave the village. Sister, I made you some rice balls. Mimi took out a large ball with a big smile. Thank you, Mimi. Megumin was deeply moved. She paused and, after careful consideration, slowly reached into her chest and took out a small bag. Mimi, here are 50,000 eris. I'm leaving it for you for your expenses. Don't save it, or you'll go hungry, okay? This is my last money, so make sure you keep it, okay? Mimi tugged several times, but she couldn't snatch the bag from Megumin. She could see the reluctance in her eyes. Sister, let's forget it. What are you talking about? Here, make sure you keep it. If you run out of money and don't have anything to eat, you'll have to go find Sister Talao. Do you understand? Yes, I remember. Megumin slid her bag over to Mimi and stared at her. Her eyes lingered on the bag for a long moment, then she gritted her teeth and turned away. That's right. I left Mimi the 50,000 eri I earned from selling food and the money I made from my part-time job. Megumin took a bite of the skewer. Is that why you feel so bad? Zun Zun complained. I'm glad you left the money for my sister, but I'm not glad you were just trying to get free food and drinks. Worse still, she even told Mimi to go find her sister. Megumin complained, it's your fault for not coming. It's Zun Zun's fault she's sleeping on the streets. You can't blame me at all. I was starving in a stable, while you and Yunyun were at the best hot spring inn. I arrived first. Her skills, learned in vain, grew stronger and stronger, making Yunyun feel guilty and overwhelmed. Zesta chuckled and said, "It seems like the three of you get along quite well. Great. In fact, the Axis Church doesn't discourage this kind of relationship, it supports monogamy." Megumin waved her hands and joked, No, we're just childhood sweethearts. And monogamy means 3 people. Yes, huh? 1 husband. Zesta pointed at Zun Zun. 1 wife, then she pointed at Yunyun. So that's how monogamy works. Yunyun felt even more like this guy had suffered a nervous breakdown. Zesta chuckled. Since the Axis cult is based on brotherhood, as long as the partner isn't undead or a demon, and as long as there is love and it's not illegal, all are forgiven. That's right, so having a harem is also allowed. Do you want to join the Axis cult? Cecily pressed herself against Zun Zun's back, squishing his agar slime. Zun Zun tried to break free, but she subdued him with a skill comparable to the 7-day love lock. Upon returning to the church headquarters, the brotherly Zesta was arrested by the long-awaited security detail. He was charged with 35 counts, including harassing a priestess of the Eris cult, spreading rumors, inciting conflict, and spying on a hot spring. He was even more capable than the King of Understanding. He truly was the most well-rounded Zesta. The main reason for his arrest was the letter Zun Zun had sent, which stated that the person in charge of the hot springs was a minion of the Demon King, and that the current person in charge was Zesta. So, despite being a member of the Axis cult, which deeply hated demons, he had no choice but to be arrested and interrogated by the security team. The security captain, whose shirt Cecily had taken, was on the verge of tears, but he fled at Zesta's clamor. How is it possible? Without Zesta-sama, what will happen to this church? Cecily frowned, her face gloomy. Megumin was about to comfort her when she said, "It's come to this, let's eat first." Hey, I don't know what to do, after all. Besides, Zesta-sama is arrested almost daily, so he doesn't have any important missions. Cecily's eyes were filled with clear stupidity. So what's his reason for existing? Megumin grumbled. Is he really alright? He's the representative of the Axis cult, and the security team suspects you're conspiring with the Demon King's army. So what, huh? The members of the Axis cult frowned at her words. You know, besides hating the Eris cult, they hated the Demon King's army the most. Of course, they couldn't stand being misunderstood as conspiring with him. Cecily mused, it's certainly unpleasant to be misunderstood, but how could we, being honest people, be slandered? Ahem, that doesn't matter. Zun Zun stepped forward and waved his hand, saying, the most urgent thing is to clear suspicions, prove Zesta's innocence, and get him out of prison. Zun Zun, you're not. Megumin seemed to sense something. Cecily asked, puzzled, why? Lord Zesta must be enjoying the interrogation right now. Wouldn't it be tactless to interrupt him? His words left her speechless. Compared to that, I want to conquer the world, and now is the time. The time has come, we must rise up today. She rubbed her hands and left the church, waiting eagerly. Zun Zun and the others looked at each other in bewilderment. And it wasn't just Cecily, everyone else in the church seemed to have had their chance as well. As I left the church, I found the streets filled with Axis members. They were giving speeches, preaching their teachings to every passerby, and even promising benefits. What are they doing? Campaigning for votes, Zun Zun said with a grimace. These Axis members, even though Zesta had just been arrested by the security forces, seemed eager to see him arrested as the culprit. This would allow them to launch their campaign to become the next leader of the Axis cult. I told you they had ulterior motives. Cecily came over and said, want to help me? Part-time jobs pay well. Since she'd committed so many atrocities before, she was always on guard when approaching others, and some even turned tail and ran away. She had no choice but to ask Zun Zun and the others for help. Zun Zun, of course, didn't agree. There were enough idiots in the Axis cult, anymore, and the world would be destroyed. Megumin was tempted to reconsider, but Yo-Yo's magic forced her to give up. So, after Cecily failed to run in the election, she changed her mind and decided to rescue Zesta, preventing anyone from becoming the main leader. What a scoundrel. As they walked down the street, they suddenly saw the secretary who had been with Zesta, also shouting her campaign slogan. I am Tristan, I promise you, when I become the top leader of the Axis cult, I will implement the following policies. First, legalize polygamy. Second, lower the marriage age. Third, as long as there is love, even between siblings. Zun Zun lowered his head and walked toward her, as if he had made up his mind. Megumin was stunned. Zun Zun? What are you doing? I'm supporting this sister under my real name. Wait, he had taken a few steps when Megumin and Yo-Yo stopped him. Chapter 72. Is this ability potion authentic? The Axis cult members scoured the city, employing all sorts of bizarre tactics to solicit votes, putting Alkenriche's public safety on the brink of collapse. Bribery, coercion, even seduction and fraud were rife. One of them, a sister named Tristan, even set a condition: as long as there is love, even if they are siblings. This almost made Zun Zun rush to support her as the new leader of the Axis cult. Even now, I support Tristan. She truly supports the church and even said she would make it the state religion. Zun Zun, when did you join the Axis cult? No way. You can't join a church like that. I think she did it for the promise. Yunyun and Megumin, exhausted, sat on a park bench, while Zun Zun stared into the distance, where Tristan was still giving his speech. As they collapsed, Cecily said, well, although we've been delayed by unexpected circumstances, it's time to rescue Lord Zesta. They had no choice but to head for the hot spring inn. Then came the unexpected answer. The hot spring inn owner said that when he turned on the tap, for some reason, a grape-flavored agar slime spurted out. It was imperative to go to the place. Behind the village of Alkenriche rose a mountain with a hot spring. From there, the inhabitants laid pipes to bring water to the village. Cecily led them to the large facility that supplied the hot springs. She said with a hint of pride, look, this is the supply station that brings the spring water from the mountain to the village, and this facility is also controlled by the Axis cult, so they dared to act so recklessly? But it was precisely because of this that they were being held responsible for such an incident. It was said that members of the Axis cult often took turns cleaning the equipment and purifying the hot springs, but yesterday's cleaning was done by Zesta, so he was designated as suspect under close surveillance. When they arrived, someone else had already arrived. It was a member of the security team. They're from the Axis cult. They're late. We already have the evidence. Each carried a large bag filled with agar slime powder. Witnesses reported seeing Zesta carrying the bags into the facility the night before, which meant the evidence was irrefutable. Cecily replied, I say, let's see about becoming the next leader. She had completely lost hope of Zesta. Upon returning to the mountain, having failed, they found a refreshed Zesta berating the tired-looking captain in front of the security building. That's what I told you. I'm a devoted member of the Axis cult and the main leader. How could I possibly be helping those demons? I'm sorry, Master Zesta, please calm down. If an apology is enough, what's the security team for? What, you're the security team? Phew. I'm very worried about the safety of this village. For some reason, their roles had been reversed. Cecily exclaimed in surprise, Master Zesta, what are you doing in a place like this? What are you talking about? I've been released. Zesta shook her head. Besides, how could I commit such a stupid crime? I'm the supreme leader of the devout Axis cult. Accusing me of conspiring with the Demon King's army as a humiliation, the Axis cult can do anything, except conspire with demons. It was a joy to watch that previously confident and calm prosecutor with glasses gradually turn into a tearful expression. Thanks to her, I was able to clear my name. That prosecutor will be transferred to Axel soon. I'm so sorry. Seeing the female knight lower her head in dissatisfaction, one could guess what was going on. The kingdom possessed a magical item that could detect lies. Supposedly, they had asked Zesta if she was conspiring with the Demon King's army, and the answer was no, so they released it, allowing her to speak freely. But that item also had its flaws. For example, when asked you if she was a boy, answering not a girl was fine. As for other genders, it was just a simple play on words. The atmosphere on the way back was relaxed. Zesta sighed, oh, I didn't expect you to be so concerned, even about searching for the criminal. I don't know how to thank you enough, then please buy this. Zun Zun took out a bottle of potion. It was filled with a purple liquid, and the words "un" was written on the bottle. Cecily blinked. Isn't this agar slime? No way. Zun Zun rolled his eyes and said, this is a skill point potion, and I made it myself. I'm going to see Axel now, and I'll be in trouble if I don't have the money for the trip. Is your skill point potion authentic? Are you looking for trouble? I'm a magic item master from the Crimson Demon Village. How can I sell you a fake? If you want it, it's the friendship price of 10 million Eris, 10 million. Isn't that too much? Look, where can you find skill point potions now? They're all made in the Crimson Demon Village. If you think it's expensive, I think I'll think it's too expensive. He wasn't lying. Zun Zun could only borrow the school's equipment and enlist the help of his sisters to gather all the ingredients with such painstaking effort. Add in the numerous failures, and you've barely made any money. Skill point potions aren't exactly rare, but they're only used by royalty and nobles. Almost each bottle can fetch tens of millions. 10 million Eris is truly a friendship price. Cecily looked quite envious. Megumin also stared at the ability potion in disbelief, clearly confused as to whether the bottle was gold, or if the potion itself was. She never imagined that the potion she had drunk so much of would be so valuable. If she had only kept one bottle, why would she have struggled to pay for the trip to Axel? Zesta pondered for a long moment, then sighed. Sorry, I'd love to buy it, but the church's finances can't support it, so, really? Well, there's nothing I can do. Zun Zun nodded slightly. Then I'll have to sell it to the Eris cult. What? I won't. How can you sell something like that to the Eris cult? Cecily snatched the ability potion and threw it to the ground. Ah, Zun Zun and Megumin cried in unison. Seeing the spilled, completely useless potion, Zun Zun suddenly raised his head and said, You really broke my potion, HMPH. How can we allow something like that to exist that only strengthens the Eris cult? Master Zesta, am I doing the right thing? Cecily asked, taking credit. What the hell? If I'm guilty, I'll be punished by the kingdom's laws, not tortured by those idiots from the Accuses cult in the trenches. Chapter 73 Mixed Baths. Give me back the money. No, Cecilia, a reckless person, said it was impossible to return the money, not ever in her life. She would simply give herself to him as a lover and trust Zun Zun, canceling the entire debt. How could she possibly pull it off? Someone. Wang, wake her up. Finally, it was Zesta who said he would take responsibility for the incident. Although he couldn't muster such a large sum, he was willing to compensate in other ways. For example, he could ask the Church of Accuses to reimburse any future hot springs, or perhaps only priests of Accuses could bathe in the spring, something like that. Zun Zun despised all of these things, but when Cecilia mentioned that bathing in the spring's hot water would improve one's skin and have aesthetic benefits, Megumin and Yunyun were clearly interested. As expected, they were girls, sharing the same passion for beauty as Tao Lao. Wait, Tao Lao? When Zun Zun asked you if his family or companions could enjoy the same treatment, Zesta said it was perfectly acceptable. Considering that over 300 members of the Crimson Demon clan could enjoy this privilege, Zun Zun forgave Cecily. Who says the villagers aren't family? Cecily then offered them to experience the hot springs as an apology, allowing them to bathe together as a group of 4. The 4 people were, of course, her, Zun Zun, Yunyun, and Megumin. Zesta pointed at herself. What about me? Yunyun timidly waved her hand. You up, mixed bath? It's not right, is it? Oh, why are you so shy? Cecily hugged Yunyun and rubbed her vigorously, then said to Megumin, It's just a mixed bath. It's no big deal, right? Yes, after all, I've bathed with Zun Zun before. Oh, how bold. Cecily's eyes lit up. Megumin, Yunyun asked anxiously, that was when we were kids, and, so what? Megumin glared at her opponent. Last night, Yunyun and Zun Zun stayed at the hot spring inn together, and I heard they even shared a room. This gave her an inexplicable sense of crisis. Or are you scared, Yunyun? After a long moment of hesitation, Yunyun forced herself to speak, blushing. I understand. After all, Zun Zun and I already have that kind of relationship. Huh? Wait, what's your relationship? We're just bathing together. It's just an obstacle we have to overcome. Okay, I'll try. Then what exactly is your relationship? Explain it to me. Following Megumin's provocation, she was the one who became flustered. Zun Zun pointed at herself, just like Zesta. What do you think? Clearly, with Cecily fanning the flames, Yunyun had no room to voice his opinion. At the source of the hot springs in the mountains behind Alkenrisha, thanks to Cecily being a beautiful priestess of the Axis cult, they easily entered the forbidden area, which outsiders couldn't access. The 4 of them bathed in a small circular pool about 2 meters wide, created using explosive magic. Honestly, it was a bit crowded. Bliss. Megumin crouched at the edge of the hot springs, her expression incredibly relaxed, clearly enchanted by the source. Yunyun blushed and huddled in a corner. She was still somewhat shy, although her passion had been running wild at the time, but once it calmed down, she felt completely embarrassed. As for Cecily and Zun Zun, she rubbed the enormous agar slime on her chest against Zun Zun's face. Come on. Don't be so sad. I know I was wrong and I apologize, okay? Come on. I'll feed you. This guy always wants to pull a cart with a small horse. Let go of me. Get away from me. Zun Zun pushed at her fair, smooth shoulders, not even thinking a word, even as the enormous cherry-flavored agar slime swayed before her eyes. It's impossible for people to have feelings for idiots, just like they wouldn't have feelings for monkeys. Someone get the person who says, it's pretty, so it's not in trouble, out of here. Lying beside the hot spring, Megumin said lazily, you two, stop making such a fuss. At least observe some hot spring etiquette. They both looked at her. Perhaps because her gaze was a little sharp, Megumin turned her head and said, say what you want. Well, Megumin, you have a low back, but your chest is completely flat. Cecily spoke without thinking. Megumin's eyes lit up, and she chanted explosive magic, looking for trouble. Huh? Okay, I'll accept it. After all, the Crimson Demons will respond to any challenge. Wait. Big sister is mistaken. Don't be impulsive, Megumin. Stop it. The three of them held her down at once. After a while of arguing, Cecily hunched over Yunyun and Megumin, her ample page puffed out, looking quite pleased. Is this middle-aged uncle from somewhere? Cecily said, Zun Zun, let me come with you. It's fine for big sister to be my lover, that way, the lovely Megumin and Yunyun will be mine too. No, she had a brilliant plan, but unfortunately, Zun Zun flatly refused. Cecily laughed. As expected, I was rejected. Anyway, I want to go adventuring, but the people who can support me, ahem, where are my companions? She sighed resentfully. This guy was a mess. Megumin suddenly said, let Zun Zun tell your fortune. Fortune? Yes, Zun Zun's fortune-telling is very powerful, almost as good as his sister's. Oh, I forgot to mention that Zun Zun's sister is a very accurate fortune-teller from the Crimson Demon clan. Huh? Cecily looked at Zun Zun in surprise. When they freed Zesta, they learned that they had been captured from a letter sent by Zun Zun from the Crimson Demon village. It was because the letter was from a god-level fortune-teller that they took it so seriously. Zun Zun, I see. I'll help you with the fortune-telling, thank you. Cecily hugged him. In fact, Zun Zun didn't know how to tell fortunes. His sister had absorbed his talent. But in order to get out of her entanglement, Zun Zun looked up at the night sky and pretended to tell fortunes. What should he do? He thought about what to say, but would it be too cruel to that person? No. I'd rather die than let my friend die. I'm sorry, you will become a companion with a brave man in the future. He is a very powerful and handsome man. His name, yes, he is called Yujian Xiangai, a magic sword warrior. After saying this, Cecily's expression seemed a little strange. What's wrong? Are you dissatisfied? He is a very upright and brave man, and he is also the handsome boy you like. If you miss him, you will regret it for the rest of your life. No, how to say? I met him, but I scared him away. I guess I missed it. Hey, it seemed that even Mitsurugi Hibiki couldn't stand her, even though he admired the stupid goddess Aqua so much. Cecily suddenly stood up and shouted, you're going to Axel now, aren't you? My big sister has decided to try her best to get transferred to Axel. You're not bothering me yet. Zun Zun collapsed and shouted. Chapter 74 The Goddess is a Child. While soaking in the hot springs, Cecily constantly seduced Zun Zun, rubbing her enormous agar slime on his face. Perhaps her excessive behavior annoyed Megumin, who immediately cast an explosion spell, creating a massive crater in the hot springs on the back mountain. Big sister. I'll help you expand the pool a little. No thanks. Uh-oh, Cecily froze, gulping before saying, Megumin, you're really scary sometimes, indeed. Those glowing red eyes were a little scary. That night, the three of them stayed at the Accusa's cult headquarters. Megumin lay dead in the next room and Yunyun in the other. Cecily, determined to steal the night, approached for a night raid, but Zun Zun subdued her and cornered her. The next morning, they had to take the first train to Axel. There was a reason for the rush. Think about it. They had only been in Crimson Demon Village for 3 days, and Enes, who had maimed Nasuk, Megumin's cat, in his sights, was probably still hanging around. It would take several days to arrive, but by then they had already left for Axel. Disaster always comes late. As for Ennis coming to Axel, I admit that the high-rank demon is powerful, but if I bring that idiot goddess Aqua with you, how will you handle it? Who will suffer then? At the Alkenrisha caravan station, Zesta and the others were seeing them off. Incidentally, the carriage ride for the three of them was paid for by the Axis cult. Zun Zun was constantly fighting with Cecily, or rather, trying to snatch her away. This guy really wanted to go with him. Zesta, on the other hand, expressed her gratitude to Megumin for opening a large hole in the hills last night, as that would allow her to arrange access for Axis cult members to the mixed bathing area, even though her secretary, Tristan, said he absolutely wouldn't allow it. Zesta scratched her head helplessly. No matter, she said. That open-air bath is the Axis cult's secret hot spring. If you ever come to this village again, please be sure to visit our church. By the way, my promise applies to Miss Megumin as well, alright. If I find a companion and we want to go on a trip together, I'll definitely make this my first stop. Megumin smiled. I'm looking forward to that time. Then, Miss Megumin, I'll show her just how powerful we are when we get serious. I'll fill all her pockets with applications to join the Axis cult. This statement was incredibly unsettling. Then, with a sour face, Cecily handed Megumin something heavy, a bag that looked like a parting gift. Megumin apologized. I didn't do anything serious. I can't accept something like this. It's okay. This will become something you can't live without. Take it. Why are you so polite, child? Cecily forcefully shoved the bag at Megumin. Megumin opened them expectantly, revealing a stack of Axis membership applications. Furious, she threw the entire stack at Cecily. Too bad. Megumin, you hit me too hard. Cecily rubbed her reddened nose, then walked over to Zun Zun, her eyes set on offering him a parting gift as well. Just so you know, if it's trash, forget it. You treat valuable applications like trash. How could you? They're my treasure. Cecily hugged Zun Zun, waiting for him to do something sinister again. Megumin and Yunyun cried out in surprise, but she quickly let go of them. At that same instant, a necklace appeared on Zun Zun's chest. This is a gift. Take care of it. The light blue crystal necklace was simple, but it contained immense magical power. Zun Zun could detect it because crimson demons were naturally sensitive to magic, but he had never seen a magical item with such power, not even in Crimson Demon Village, where magical items were plentiful. No, it's too valuable, don't think too much of it. The necklace only contains the location magic that helps me find you, so don't lose it. Oh no, he suddenly didn't want this anymore. Zun Zun looked worried. Cecily suddenly said, what? Are you feeling guilty? No way, again. By the way, Zun Zun, did you kiss those two? What? Just as Zun Zun was stunned, a fragrant breeze blew across his face. Cecily suddenly bent down. Although he turned his head in time, the corner of his mouth was still kissed. Ah, Megumin and Yunyun cried out in surprise. Cecily said proudly, your first kiss wasn't with those two, but with me. Cecily, you really are, too much, Miss Cecily. Megumin and Yunyun punched and kicked her, while Zun Zun searched for murky water. Unfortunately, Alkenrisha, known as the City of Water, didn't have murky water. After a moment of discussion, passengers, are you ready? The carriage Traxel is about to depart, the old man on the stage shouted. It was time to set off. Suddenly, Zesta took Zun Zun's hand and said with a smile, Lord Zun Zun, you and Miss Megumin have helped us a lot this time. Thank you very much. Also, I've memorized a prophecy from the Crimson Demon Village's fortune teller and will keep an eye out for any invasion by the Demon King's army. No, I didn't do anything, and I actually had Mr. Zesta arrested. Zun Zun waved his hand away. Although Zesta was capable of anything, he was still very reliable when he needed to be serious. Perhaps she had a preconceived idea about him. The carriage Traxel is about to leave. Please hurry, the old man on the stage shouted again. Lord Zesta, we're leaving. Lord Zesta, Lord Zesta. Zun Zun tried to pull his hand away, but he couldn't. Finally, his face reddening, he forcefully withdrew it. As he withdrew it, Zesta was a complete pervert. Then Zun Zun boarded the carriage as if escaping. As the carriage continued its journey, the three of them waved goodbye from the window until they left Alkenrisha. Zesta watched the departing carriage, then suddenly covered her face with her hands and took a deep breath. A smug smile spread across her face, a smile that even Cecily, a pervert, found perverse. Justice-sama, Cecily, do you think the goddess-sama is a boy? Are you crazy? She's a goddess, how could she be a boy? Cecily and the others must not have known the new version, otherwise they would have had their doubts. But, Zesta sniffed her palm again, as if trying to confirm something. Cecily was slightly taken aback. Justice-sama, you mean, no wonder I've been so drugged these past few days, that's because you ate too much agar slime. Zesta straightened her clothes and said, Cecily, I want to confirm something. Come with me, okay, Justice-sama. The two of them headed toward the Axis cult headquarters. Chapter 75 The Devil in the Dog Bowl still haunts me. The journey from Elkin-Risha to Axel lasted about 2 days. Honestly, the carriage wasn't comfortable, the bumps made her backside ache. It wasn't nearly as comfortable as the planes and cars of her previous life. But she wasn't bored during the ride. Megumin, it's almost an hour, but it only feels like 10 minutes, the two argued in the window seat, joking about their close relationship, and in the end, Megumin emerged victorious. But before she could get too proud, she heard the rustling of pages. As she turned the pages, she saw Zun Zun reading. While Yunao's playful nature put her at ease, Zun Zun's studies made her uneasy. After all, she considered herself a formidable explosion mage in the Crimson Demon clan, but since leaving the village, she hadn't read a single word, nor had she subdued monsters to increase her strength. She cared only about eating, drinking, and being merry, imagining a bright future. Megumin was ashamed of her laziness. She felt like she was being crawled by ants. Yunyun was also stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously, Zun Zun, what book are you reading? Zun Zun raised the book so they could see the cover, How to Make Advanced Magic Tools, and I saw the method for making a magic crystal. Magic crystal? Megumin asked. Yunyun, on the other hand, knew more and asked, is it a crystal that can be used to cast magic indirectly? Yes, Zun Zun nodded. Magic crystals are very powerful. They can even cast explosive magic. Explosive magic? Doesn't that mean with this, I can cast explosive magic as many times as I want? Megumin's eyes lit up. Her biggest weakness at the moment was that she would die after casting explosive magic. Wouldn't having a magic crystal give her unlimited firing power? That's the theory. But Megumin should know that all power comes at a price. The magic crystal draws magical energy, circulating it through the body before releasing it. It's fine once or twice, but forcing it too much would be exhausting, especially for a fragile child like Megumin, who wields the most powerful explosion magic. Megumin asked excitedly, let's not talk about that for even a minute. Zun Zun, have you learned how to craft magic crystals? Yes. Or rather, not craft them, but mine them. Magic crystals are mined from magic crystal mines. Zun Zun saw her expression and said, and even the lowest quality magic crystals cost a whopping 100,000 eris. To achieve the same effect as explosion magic, you need the highest quality magic crystals. That could even buy you a house in the royal capital. A house in the royal capital? Megumin asked with a grimace. She didn't know how high housing prices were in the royal capital, but since it was the royal capital, they must be expensive. And if a single piece of the highest quality magic crystal cost the same as a house in the royal capital, she knew she would never be able to afford it. And that was a disposable item. Megumin lowered her head in disappointment, then switched seats with Yunyun, offering her the window seat. Yunyun wasn't happy about this, and instead felt a little flustered seeing her best friend so dejected. She wanted to comfort her, but she didn't know where to start, so she could only stare helplessly at Zun Zun. Zun Zun didn't notice Yunyun's plea, but when Megumin suddenly fell silent, she knew what was going on. She turned the page to the next chapter, How to Make Advanced Energy Potion, and said, Megumin, don't be so disappointed. Think of it this way. Your explosive magic is worth the price of a house in the capital, and you can use it once a day. You can imagine how powerful you are. Megumin was stunned for a moment, and suddenly, she puffed out her chest and shouted, yes! My explosive magic is unmatched. Isn't it only natural that it's worth the price of a house in the capital? My name is Megumin. I am the foremost explosive magician of the Crimson Demon clan. Now, I shall show you the power of a house in the capital, even though the damage it caused far exceeded that of a house. Then, Megumin turned to Yunyun and said, it's been an hour, right? It's time to switch with me, huh? Wait. It's only been 10 minutes, just like me, it's just your perceived time, and I just lost an hour. Come on, switch places with me. That's your perceived time, you only lost 10 minutes, Yunyun shouted, and the two of them went back to fighting happily. Zun Zun shook his head, amused. Between Alkenrisha and Axel lay a vast expanse of flat land, a vast expanse that stretched out in all directions, where any movement would be detected. This caravan consisted of 10 carriages, which traveled between towns to conduct business, using the empty seats to carry passengers and collect fares. Normally, monsters wouldn't attack such a large caravan. After all, it wasn't the breeding season for the lizard racers, and there weren't any perverted knights with bodies as hard as adamantium in the carriages. It was just afternoon. The gentle breeze was refreshing. The other passengers on the carriage, besides them, were scattered across the lawn, sitting eating their lunchboxes or taking a nap, resting in their own ways. Yunyun, sitting on the lawn, muttered with a contented expression, "What a peaceful life." Seeing this scenery, it really makes me feel that the news I heard earlier about the Demon King's army causing trouble in the capital was false. No, this should be true. The Demon King's army should be planning to harass the capital, preventing it from mobilizing the kingdom's army to attack them. It's a very strategic battle plan. Zun Zun handed the two of them the lunchboxes he had prepared in advance. After receiving them, Megumin began to devour them. This boy was the most enthusiastic. While eating, he said, "Yunyun, be careful. Senseless monsters might come and attack us. But for me, who wants to use magic, this is my wish come true. Then, let them taste the power of a house in the capital. I'd better be more cautious. If we can continue this peacefully, we should reach the city by nightfall." Shut up. Don't say those high-flown words, okay? Didn't we learn in school that they're in the book of unspoken lines? Yunyun grabbed Megumin by the shoulders and shook them vigorously. Zun Zun also felt that no monsters would attack. After all, the biggest threat, Enes, should be far away. Without her lurking around, they would be safe. Haha, can you kill me in an instant? After a 7-day journey, can you kill me in an instant? If you can kill me, Zun Zun, instantly. Cursed lightning. At that moment, a woman's sharp scream was heard, and a flash of light rushed toward them. At the critical moment, Zun Zun pounced on them, embracing them. A flash from the sky struck the three of them from behind, kicking up dust and burying them. He lifted his head from the ground and looked up. In the sky, Ernest was floating with his wings spread. And Hust, a demonic figure with flapping wings. The dog trough demon is still chasing me. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.